welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios here on Wake Up Call, Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday and every day online at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. I'm hiding my shirt for a second because this is a special unveiling. Not only is my little sister playing for Lemoyne Dolphins women's lacrosse, and not only did they win over the weekend to secure regular season champion status, but they are the number one seed in the NEC postseason tournament for the Northeast Conference, and they will be hosting the entire tournament this Thursday, April 30th. If they win, they play again on Saturday, May 2nd, and on top of all of that, I'm going to be dressed very well because my little sis has an NIL deal with her own apparel, and your boy just got his sweatshirt that came in. So here it is, my Tortora with Francesca right here, my little sister Franny, and that's a picture of her on the field getting the job done with the Tortora here. So shout out to Miss Fran. I am dressed nicely this morning thanks to my little sister, and a big time congratulations to the Lemoyne Dolphins women's lacrosse team, who has, like I said, secured regular season championship status, and they will fight in the postseason at home, hosting all four teams for the right to be the champions of the NEC. So with that being said, we're up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com inside these Great Lakes Honda City studios. So with that being said, I welcome Murph into the broadcast. Murph, what do you think about the threads here, Murph? Got some nice stuff here going on.
That is cool. That is really cool. So, big shout out to Franny getting the NIL deal, getting hooking up her big brother with some merch. That's always pretty darn cool, right?
Yeah, and knowing that they are already regular season champions and have the opportunity to be postseason champions in her first season with Lemoyne, and on top of that, they get to host the entire tournament this week in Syracuse, New York. So, of course, I've been planning my schedule around it, and I will be there for Thursday, April 30th, and hopefully we rock on to May 2nd, and I'll be there for that as well.
Yeah, that's obviously going to be a fun time. And are they finally able to go to the NCAA tournament, or they have to wait one more year?
They have to wait 1 year. One more year.
One more year, okay.
They applied for 3-year status as opposed to 4, and I think there's people on campus that are going over and making sure they did everything they're supposed to do, and then they'll be in a position to step forward. So Lemoyne has to wait 1 more year in order to send their teams to the NCAA postseason, but the NEC changed their rules. The NEC used to have a 2-year hiatus. The NCAA has a 4-year hiatus. The NEC used to have a 2-year hiatus on new members, and they got rid of that when Lemoyne came in, so Lemoyne could compete for championships right away. So this is a championship they can compete for and they can move forward in, but as far as the NCAAs, they have to wait 1 more year. It would have been 2, but hopefully if all the T's are crossed and the I's are dotted, Lemoyne will be able to compete next year, which means that Franny would have a chance to go to the NCAA tournament next year.
Can I just say that is one of the dumbest rules that NCAA has? That when a program moves up from Division Two to Division One, that all of a sudden they have to they have to wait 4 years or 3 years. Hopefully it ends up being 3 years, but wait 4 years to even be able to compete for a national championship. I get it if you're moving down. Like if you're going from D1 to D2,
yeah,
I get that. That I get. But if you're moving up, why in the world are you not allowed to compete for the NCAAs?
Yeah.
What are they scared of?
Yeah, I agree.
To me, it is the single dumbest rule in college sports, in college athletics, that programs have to wait 4 years of being a Division One program before they're even allowed to be before they're even allowed to make the postseason. Correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't Lemoyne's men's basketball team in year one nearly win their conference and would have made the NCAA tournament had it not been for that.
Yeah, in the NEC alone, in Lemoyne's first year in transition from D2 to D1 from the NE10 to the NEC, they were very close to winning a title in the NEC. They wouldn't have been able to go to the NCAA tournament. And a few years before, and no, I'm sorry, in the year before that, so here's how crazy this is. FDU and Merrimack played for the title. Merrimack won. Merrimack was transitioning from D2 to D1, same conference as Lemoyne, NE10 to NEC. Men's basketball, they win the tournament. They can't go because they're in their 4-year hiatus from the NCAA, so FDU goes in their place, even though Merrimack's champions of the NEC. FDU becomes the second team ever in the history of the NCAA tournament on the men's side to win as a 16 seed over a 1 seed. And you say to yourself, if FDU could do that, what could Merrimack have done? Because Merrimack beat FDU. Then that very next season, that FDU team had some of the student athletes from that team that beat Purdue in the tournament, 16 over 1. They had some of the coaching staff, and they had some of the players from that previous year. And Lemoyne, in their first year in Division I, in the 4-year hiatus, defeated that FDU team that still had remnants of the team that beat that beat the 1 seed as a 16 seed, and Lemoyne beat that team in the NEC tournament at home, and I was at that game. So you sit here and you look at it and you go, Merrimack was better than FDU, Lemoyne was better than FDU the next year, FDU beat a 16-seeded Purdue, so what could Lemoyne have done and what could Merrimack have done?
Yeah, it's such a stupid rule. And obviously, I know we're going to be talking about the NFL draft today, and we got a lot to get into there, but I just had to get that off my chest. It's the single dumbest. I'm going to even go as far to say it's the single dumbest rule in all of collegiate and professional athletics. And there's some dumb ones.
Yeah, there's a lot.
There's some really stupid rules.
Well,
but to me, this one takes the cake.
There's a lot of dumb rules. There's a lot of rules that don't exist. There's a lot of rules that exist, and you wonder why or what's the parameters and whatnot. Listen, I talked to Adrian Autry years ago before he became a head coach about the NCAA rule book. He said, Dan, you can't remember everything. He said they keep adding pages. And I mean, I remember I went out before the draft. He had finished up his eligibility, and he was going into the draft. No more playing in college. Alec Lemon, wide receiver for Syracuse. And we went out to lunch. And we went and got paninis. And I said, I got you, man. I said, we've been friends for like 4 years. I got you. He's like, nah. I said, yeah, I got you. He goes, no, you can't get me. I said, why can't I get you? $9. He goes, bro, I'm still at Syracuse. If you pay for my $9 panini, it's an NCAA rules violation. And he wasn't even playing. They were done. They had finished their season. It was spring, and we were going into the NFL draft, and I still couldn't do that. Now, you can do whatever the hell you want. Now, anybody can say they're a business. Now, you can walk up, handshake somebody with $1,000 in your hand. And then I heard from players in the past, that's what used to happen. They said after a game, somebody would come up and shake our hand, and they'd have money in their hand. Or we'd go to our locker after the game, and there'd be money sitting in the locker. There were guys that told me they had stake in there were guys that told me about people that had stake in the Kentucky Derby. There were guys that told me that when they were on their they told me about recruiting visits for certain players. They said when this guy came into this city, he was told, this gentleman has 2 mansions. He lives in one of them. You can live in the other one instead of living on campus. They brought him 2 women and said these women will service you however you want, plus you get the mansion. And as that person was about to enjoy his visit, he got a call from his father that said, this school just pulled up with a van and $100,000. You're going here. So this stuff's been happening for a long time. And the things that I've heard, nobody has a reason to lie to me, and they're gross. There's money. There's been sexual favors. There's been a lot of stuff. And a bless you to Murph as he's...
No, I'm still fighting a cold. Yeah.
But
I'm at the end of it, thank God.
But looking at good. And I mean, looking at everything with name, image, and likeness now, in the past, there's stake here, there's money there, there's a house, there's a car, there's promiscuous sexual things going. I mean, I wanted to get out of a conversation years ago on a golf course because it was making me sick to know the things that I knew and to know that it was in connection with places that I thought would never do it. So there's a lot of things that don't make sense, but now that everything feels legal, it's pretty dangerous what NIL is, and it needs to be adjusted. It needs to be fixed. We've talked about it a lot on the show. I read the executive order by President Trump on the show wall to wall. I read the entire executive order, every section, every piece. And the gist of it is they want to give student athletes 5 years instead of 4 years, but you don't have a red shirt. So you got 5 years to play. So you can actually play an extra year. You can play 5 years in college instead of playing 4 years in college. And the only thing that you can use to not lose that time is a religious vocation, maternity leave, or military. And so that's one part of it. Another part of it is bonding the old with the new, where you can have your first transfer, you transfer right away, you play. Every transfer after that, you have to sit out a year. So first year, fine. Next year, sitting out a year. So that takes what used to be, which was you sat out every time you transferred, versus what we have now where you can transfer and play immediately. And they're trying to get a hold on this portal thing, which has been absolutely insane. And once again, people don't know this, but you should know this. There's more people in the portal than there are spots on rosters. So some of these kids go in the portal 17, 18, 19 years old, and they're back in their hometown, back in the same neighborhood with no money, no education, and no future plan because they went in the portal and nobody took them. So there's that side of it. There's the conversation of protecting them from agents. And then there's also taking a look at trying to get around making sure the schools stay open with all of the financial strain that's on them with the $20.5 million in the House settlement and what could go up from there. You know, looking at the fact that the military works with schools, scientifically the government works with schools. So they need these colleges and institutions to stay open because they utilize the colleges and institutions for our federal gain. And then there's another thing about women's sports and Olympic sports. So that's the gist of the executive order. And I would behoove the NCAA to follow the president's lead and make sure that they take care of these things that we've been talking about on Wake Up Call for years. Because if they don't, they're going to lose a lot. And we're going to lose amateurism. We're going to lose education. We're going to lose the bridge between mom and dad take care of me and I'm on my own. We're going to lose the bridge that teaches people life skills. We're going to lose so much in society. And because of the way things are right now, we've already started to lose. And we've already started to see what those young kids look like in society when they can't handle society. So it never should have gotten here, but now we have to figure out how to get things right. You can't close Pandora's box. You can't put the genie back in the bottle, but you need to find a way to deal with the consequences that were created by the NCAA having no parameters and no preparation for what came and for letting it go. And I will say this again, and you can say it's a conspiracy, but I'm going to tell you this flat out. All of these big rule changes happen in the NCAA during the pandemic when everybody was focused on if they're going to stay alive and if they have to stay inside. And I'm telling you this right now, if not for that pandemic, there's no way this stuff would have been passed as fast as it was. It was passed at a time where everybody else was staring at something else.
Yeah, because we had nothing to do. It's I hope that they can get a hold and get a grip on the transfer portal and some of this other stuff that we're seeing. But at the end of the day, we all agree that players should be allowed to take gifts, get paid to sign autographs, get paid for their name, image, and likeness. Like nobody is arguing that. We've always said on this show that pay for play is still illegal.
Right.
That is the issue. We are not looking, we are not trying to say that pay for play is okay because it's not. That's where the issues lie because these kids will transfer schools and ultimately they're getting this big fat check to come and play there. And they're not, getting any kind of brand deal. They're just playing. And that's the part where this is all becoming professional sports.
Yeah.
And it makes me sick. It's something that's horrible, but we just wanted these kids to have the ability to, somebody wants to, pay them to come and sign autographs for 2 hours. They should be allowed to go do that.
Yeah.
If this kid makes money off of a YouTube channel, they should be allowed to do that, or a social media following.
Yeah.
By all means, go for it. I mean, look at Fernando Mendoza with LinkedIn.
Yeah.
That was obviously I'm sure that's a good segue. But how about that? Did you see the LinkedIn commercials that he was doing?
Yeah, hold on. This is my first ever press conference in the NFL. I gotta make sure I post this on LinkedIn. Post an update.
I gotta update my LinkedIn. Yeah,
and he's like, "All right, now you can go ahead." So.
Oh my God, that was so funny. That's why I think Fernando Mendoza is going to be successful in the NFL, and obviously it's a shame that the Raiders lost one more game than we did, and we don't get to have Fernando Mendoza. But obviously I wish him all the best in Vegas. I do think he's going to play well. Maybe not necessarily year one, because that the rest of that team is abysmal outside of Brock Bowers. And Ashton Genty, but
And
but who knows?
They barely addressed the offensive line with the Raiders. So if they don't do
they signed a center. That was it.
If they don't do anything,
a center's not that valuable.
If they do nothing between now and the start of the season, they addressed one pick in the draft to their offensive line.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I think they're going to be, give them a couple of years. I don't know if it's the Chicago Bears model. That's the comp that people keep talking about.
Yeah.
I've talked about this for a while with my comp to Fernando Mendoza as being a more mobile Matthew Stafford, because he looks like a gamer. He's got a good ability to read defenses. He's built like Matthew Stafford. And I think that he's going to have a long career. Am I going to sit here and say he's going to be, the next Joe Burrow? No. But, can he be Matthew Stafford? Can he be, a 15-year vet who maybe wins a championship at some point in his career, but, has a lot of good years where he's, maybe not the best quarterback, but in the top 10, top 6, maybe. Absolutely. He's built more like a traditional NFL quarterback. That's the bottom line with him. And I think the Raiders can be successful with him.
Yeah.
It's just gonna be a matter of the pieces that they put around him.
Yeah, I mean, again, the Raiders are in a place that I think Arizona's in. You draft good offensive talent, but do you have the line to protect it? And do you have the defense to sustain a team pushing you? Or are you going to be in a position where you're going to have to outscore everybody in the 30s or the 40s? Fernando Mendoza does not have a stable of wide receivers that you're going to lean on. Now, Trey has come up a little bit. He's a young guy. But they don't have a list of household names with the Raiders. They let go of their best possession receiver, which was Jacoby Myers, to the Jaguars during the season. You have Ashton Genty. You draft Mike Washington.
They drafted anybody, did they?
Did
they draft a receiver?
No. One, I think. And then they brought in Mike Washington Jr., who sat right next to me here in the studio plenty of times as a CNS North Star, hailing from Central New York and making it to the NFL. So you have two capable running backs in Ashton Genty and in Mike Washington Jr. Two guys that had over 1,000 yards in a season are now in the backfield together. You have Fernando Mendoza, who I got to watch, and my favorite play of his is the fourth down play where he needed 4 yards. He gained 12 and a touchdown, getting hit multiple times
Yep.
in the championship game in the college football playoff down in Miami. So you got Fernando Mendoza. You've got Ashton Genty. You draft Mike Washington Jr. You have Brock Bowers. But do you have the offensive line and the depth of that line to protect these guys, to allow the opportunity to throw, to allow the opportunity to create holes for the running game? And it's the same thing I look at in Arizona. Arizona lets go of Kyler Murray, which I've been saying for 2-3 years now. How long is this project going to go on before they let go of it? And they finally let go of it. He's in Minnesota. I believe he's in Minnesota because J.J. McCarthy's been in the league for 2 years and hasn't stayed healthy. So you have that battle going on and what that's going to be in Minnesota. But in Arizona, similar to the Raiders, you have, again, talent, but do you have the line to protect and provide and allow time for that talent? Marvin Harrison Jr., I didn't want to go to Arizona because I thought that he would not be utilized as much. We would not get to see him at his full potential. And I think that that has happened. And then now I look at Jeremiah Love, who's drafted third overall this year, and I wonder the same thing for him. But I'm going to put a caveat into this thing. Raiders, Cardinals, they need to figure out their offensive line so they can protect these skilled players and protect these quarterbacks and give an opportunity to them, or else we're going to see really great players in Las Vegas and really great players in Arizona not put up the numbers, frustrate you in fantasy football, because the thing that people don't talk about enough that you should talk about, if you know football, you talk about is the trenches. And if you do not have an offensive line, it doesn't matter if you have a Jeremiah Love. It doesn't matter if you have a Marvin Harrison Jr. or an Ashton Genty or a Mike Washington Jr. or a Brock Bowers or a Fernando Mendoza. I will throw this in here, though. I think one of the best steals of the 2026 NFL draft, and I will defend this man. I've interviewed this man. I've watched this man live, and I will defend him with factual evidence that I believe substantiates why I'm defending him. I think one of the best steals of the draft, and a guy that I think is going to start at some point this year, Carson Beck to the Cardinals.
Yeah, I was just gonna bring him up, so you beat me to it. I think that was a decent landing spot for him because I think he is going to get a chance to start at some point this year. But Jacoby Brissett is a decent guy to sit behind and learn from. He's a professional. He's been a backup. He's been around the league a little bit. He's started for multiple different teams. So I think Carson Beck has a good guy to learn from. Carson Beck, also keep in mind, he's older.
Yeah.
Think about Tyler Shuck with the Saints last year. He's I think he's a year younger or 2 years younger than Tyler Shuck was when he was drafted. But I think that's a good situation for Carson Beck. He would have weapons. He would have oh yeah, it's kind of about it. He'd have some weapons. The line's not great, as we talked about. I'm not sure what they were really doing, what they were really thinking with Jeremiah Love.
Yeah.
He's a great player, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think that was a bad landing spot for Jeremiah Love. And, somebody who owns the number one pick in a dynasty rookie draft, I don't want to pick him.
Yeah.
And it's not his fault. He just got picked by a team that shouldn't have picked him. It's the same as Marvin Harrison Jr. It's a bad situation for him. And could I be wrong? 100%. Genty to the Raiders was a much better situation than Jeremiah Love to
Yeah.
the Cardinals. And Ashton Genty's a much better player than Jeremiah Love, in my opinion. So, and it was a much better prospect as well. So to me, I look at that and think that was not a great selection. Getting Carson Beck to come in, yeah, that's a guy with some upside. I was kind of hoping he'd slide a little bit further to, maybe the middle of round three, end of round three. Maybe the Jets could sneak back up and pick him. They eventually picked their quarterback. We'll get to that later. But I don't love necessarily what the Cardinals did with Jeremiah Love. I like the Carson Beck pick because they're going to need a quarterback. So that one makes sense. But I didn't love them taking Jeremiah Love at 3. I think they should have gone offensive line. I mean, they would have had their pick whoever they wanted.
Yeah.
Everybody was available. Obviously Mendoza went one, and the Jets took David Bailey at two. So you had anybody else you wanted at three, and I don't think Jeremiah Love was it. I think that was a bad pick by them, and I think one of the biggest losers from the draft in general was Jeremiah Love, and it was not his fault. He just got picked by the wrong team.
Well, and I look at this and I think to myself, I mean, listen, Jeremiah Love, for the work that he's done and for what, you know, he did to put himself in the position that he was in, he was the number one guy coming in when it came to running backs. And I'm really, really happy for him. I'm very happy for him that he got the opportunity. Now, I thought he was going to go to Tennessee, but I'll get to
That would have made
Tennessee.
all the sense in the world.
Right. And I'll get to Tennessee in a second because Tennessee did something that I predicted in our mock draft live from Pizza Man because Tennessee has an MO that if you're not paying attention, I mean, if you're paying attention, then you know what I'm about to say in a second here about Tennessee. But I thought he was going to go to Tennessee, and then if somehow he fell to the salivating Giants, he would have went to the Giants. But the Giants not having Jeremiah Love there available, they did exactly what I wanted them to do because I thought it was the best for them, which is go O-line, D-line. And that's exactly what they did. So, well, D-line, O-line, but you know what I mean. So
Yeah,
they...
same difference, just wrong order.
Yeah, same thing. Top 10, took those picks. So, I mean, when you look at the situation with Jeremiah Love in Arizona, Arizona has needed a running back. Arizona has dealt with a lot of injuries. Arizona has gone multiple seasons in recent history where 3 out of their 5 backs are hurt, 4 out of their 5 backs are hurt, 5 out of the 5 backs are hurt. Jeremiah, if I'm Jeremiah Love, I'm thinking about Marvin Harrison Jr. and I'm going, dang, they couldn't get him the ball. They couldn't get DeAndre Hopkins the ball. DeAndre Hopkins was the number one receiver arguably in the country when he went to Arizona and disappeared. So it's now you don't have Kyler Murray, which that wasn't working out. But now the question becomes like, and I like Jacoby Brissett. I covered Jacoby Brissett in college. I like what he brings forward. I appreciate him. I respect him. So I'm the last person in the world that's going to say something negative about Jacoby Brissett. But when you look, not a but, period. When you look at the situation, though, I just keep looking at the Raiders and the Cardinals the same way. I keep looking at the fact of you have talent, but you need an offensive line. You have the talent, but you need the offensive line to be able to block for them. I don't want to see Fernando Mendoza get sacked 5 times a game. I don't want to see Jeremiah Love getting hit in the backfield the moment he gets the ball. Like, these are the things that the Giants learned after like a decade plus of running different quarterbacks and Saquon Barkley getting smacked was, oh, maybe we need an offensive line. So these are things you have to deal with. Not that you don't go draft a Jeremiah Love or you don't go draft, a Fernando Mendoza. I'm not saying that, but you have to prepare yourselves for the rest of the draft. The Las Vegas Raiders did not, in the draft, assess their needs on the O-line, D-line. They assessed the fact that they wanted skill guys, and they assessed different parts of their team, but they didn't assess the offensive line. The Arizona Cardinals have not assessed the offensive line. The Green Bay Packers, who had very few picks in the draft, they didn't really assess anything either. There's certain teams that left me scratching my head going, what the hell are you doing? Then there's other teams like the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns' best draft was in the movie Draft Day with Kevin Costner. They may have beaten that draft this year. Because to go to the Browns for a second, before I swing back around, the Browns pulled off one of the most amazing things, and it reminded me of Draft Day. I predicted they would take, at 6th overall, the first offensive tackle off the board, Spencer Fano. And I had them taking Spencer Fano at 6. They get on the phone with Kansas City. Kansas City trades up from 9 to 6. Cleveland goes down to 9, gains 2 more picks later in the draft. They get more capital, and they draft the same guy that I think they would have gotten at 6 in Spencer Fano. And then Kansas City drafts Mansour Delaney at 6th overall that I think they could have gotten at 12 or 15. So Kansas City looks like, what the hell are you doing? I thought they traded up to get a receiver. And Cleveland ends up getting the guy that I thought they were going to get. Plus they get picks, And overall, Cleveland had a really nice draft. And if their
Yeah.
running backs from last year pan out, then Cleveland has gotten a running back stable. They've gotten more wide receivers this year. They got two guys when the thought was, are they going to take maybe a Denzel Boston? They took Boston and Casey Concepcion. So they got both of them. They got another quarterback, which means they're going to move another quarterback or two when somebody needs them in the offseason. So Cleveland's in a place where they've been wheeling and dealing in a really smart way. But the Raiders put me in a place that I didn't want to talk about this morning, which is I'm happy for Mendoza, but I'm also very concerned for Mendoza because I don't think that they have the wide receiver stable, and I don't think they have the offensive line prepared for what's to come. If you run the offensive line you had last year, not protecting Ashton Genty and company, Fernando's going to be on the ground a lot. And so, I mean,
Yeah.
I understand when you're the number one team, you're the worst team in the NFL. But you know how you get away from being the worst team in the NFL? You do your research, you do your scouting, you look at who's available, you look at the offensive line, and you patchwork put it together to figure out a way to get things moving forward. You got to spend your money, you got to be smart, and I'm telling you this right now. I'm going to be watching the Raiders and the Cardinals all throughout this offseason to see if and when they make any moves to bring in players to help them on their offensive line. Because if they don't, I may not draft a Jeremiah Love in fantasy. I may not touch Brock Bowers this year. I may go elsewhere. Like, I'm really concerned that those two teams drafted talent, but can they protect it?
Yeah, and this is part of the problem you have when drafting your quarterback before you have the rest of your team sorted out. The Raiders offensive line, I mean, they bring in Tyler Linderbaum as, the best center available in free agency, which is great. I don't think a center helps you that much. Center is probably the least important position on the offensive line, in my personal opinion. The two tackles and the two guards are a little more important than the center. As important as the center is because they actually have to snap the ball and they need to know the snap count with the quarterback, the tackles are a little more important. The left tackle is the highest paid position on the offensive line for a reason. Because you have 99% of quarterbacks in the NFL. Actually, that's not true. We have two that are on the the Falcons at the moment, plus Dylan Gabriel. So that's 3 out of like 90. So it's like 95, 94%.
Yeah.
Just doing some quick math in my head. Are right-handed. The left tackle protects their blind side. There's a reason why left tackle is the most important position on the offensive line. Now, if you have a left-handed quarterback, then your right tackle needs to be great.
Yeah.
Which the Falcons have two of them. But ultimately, we need to really look into what the Raiders are doing from a team building standpoint. There are a lot of really good things happening.
Yeah.
Ultimately, they got their quarterback. They have a franchise caliber, a superstar running back. They have a superstar tight end, which is more important than you think in today's NFL. They have a decent defense. They spent a lot of draft picks on defensive players in this draft, especially in the secondary.
Yeah.
So maybe their defense will be a little bit better. But ultimately, they're missing wide receivers. So I don't know who he's going to throw the ball to outside of Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
And they're missing a decent offensive line. That's why to me, personally, I look at next year and I look at the teams that are going to be in position to take quarterbacks and what they've done.
Yeah.
And call me a homer, the Jets are going to be an interesting landing spot next year. Because the offensive line is stable. It's not amazing, but it's solid. It's probably top half of the league. They have a superstar wide receiver. Who knows what Omar Cooper is going to do?
Yeah.
They picked up they spent a first round pick on a tight end who they expect to be a superstar.
Yeah. Hold on.
They just brought it.
Hold
Yeah.
on your Jets here for a second, though, because we're going to talk about the Jets and we're going to talk about the draft that the Jets had and what Murph thinks of it and how I responded to it live. So we'll get into that in the moment at Pizza Man, where I was like, one of their picks, I went,
Yep.
oh, yeah. And then one of the other ones, I went, what? And then the other one, I went,
Oh, I went,
okay.
what for the last two?
Yeah. So
I was like, what? But I won't talk about like specifically, but I think that team itself is set up better for a quarterback to come in next year as a first round pick, whether it's, Arch Manning or Dante Moore or whoever it ends up being, versus a team like the Cardinals. Or, I mean, I don't think the Saints are going to need one anymore. Or a team like the Colts. Like the Colts aren't built as well to bring in a quarterback right now. Even the Steelers. I mean, the Steelers are probably a better landing spot for a young quarterback than the Jets, but the Steelers aren't going to be in position to take one. They're just not. And plus, they took Drew Aller, which, if Aaron Rodgers is done, Drew Aller's probably going to play at some point this year. That will be interesting.
that pick from a Steelers fan in John Newman when we did our show yesterday, which you should all check out, and I'll give the link to it here on all of our YouTube and Podbean and Facebook feeds. We did an audio video broadcast like we're doing right now. We did all 32 team breakdown for the NFL draft. Every team, every pick, 257 picks. We went team by team in alphabetical order. So we started from the top of the heat, or the top here with the Arizona Cardinals, went all the way to the Washington Commanders, and gave you analysis of every single team, every pick, named every position, every single player. I didn't know I was going to do this when I did it, and I didn't know that I did it when I did it until it ended, and John said, you named every player that was drafted, which was 257. You can go and check out that video by going to our Podbean channel, wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. You can also get it, and that's the audio version. And then you can get the video version by going to Facebook or YouTube.com, both / wakeupcalldt. It's called Every Team, Every Pick Assessed for the 2026 NFL Draft. And like I said, I'm going to share the audio version on all of our feeds right now, which I'm currently doing, and then I could share the video version as well. I believe I put it up yesterday multiple times, but you could check it on all of our social media. Of course, Facebook at wakeupcalldt, X at calldt, Instagram at wakeupcall_DT. So make sure you check us out on all of those wonderful channels. We're going to take a step aside inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, as I shared that link for you here today. We'll be back with Murph and I breaking down the Jets NFL draft in 2026 and looking ahead. Then we'll break down my Jaguars in their draft and how, yet again, another guy I know is on the team. So, shouldn't that bridge be there? We'll talk about it in a second.
Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Hi, this is Chris Rauda.
And Colleen Rakowski from Gray's Craze of Clay.
It's a fun, innovative, upscale catering solution. We've turned eating into a whole new experience. Each of our boards is packed with delicious mix of artisan cheeses. We use premium cured meats, fresh fruits, nuts, and all of the sweet touches that really bring out the best in every perfect bite.
We offer something as small as a grab and go that feeds one, maybe two people, to our large board that can serve anywhere up to 25, 28 people. So we have the ability to really meet and hopefully exceed all of our customers' expectations when it comes to the different varieties of things that we have.
Charcuterie boards or boxes are healthy, fresh, delicious. They're made to order. We're baking the breads here daily. We're baking the cookies here daily. All of our dips are homemade, made in-house. All of our spreads are all made in-house.
When you open that board or box that we have delivered or you have picked up, we want you to know that it was made with care and designed to completely elevate your event, celebration, or meeting.
We've catered parties and events for up to 300 people. So if you're walking in to grab something for lunch or something for date night or movie night, that's great too. Our events go from you eating in the car on the way home to a catering event in a rehearsal dinner or cocktail hour or party.
When we do, again, know what the event is, specifically for a wedding, we like to schedule tastings so the bride and groom can come in and see what we have to offer, and we can then, as we talk, to try to understand what they're looking for, what the venue's like. We do like to have that one-on-one interaction when it comes to catering bigger events.
Our address is 4599 State Route 31, Suite 5, in Clay, New York. We're on the corner of Route 31 and Henry Clay at Clay Marketplace.
You can order on the phone by calling area code 315-409-4171 or online at grayscraze.com/clay-ny. Come visit us at Gray's Craze of Clay, New York,
where we want you to celebrate everything.
Hey everybody, this is Rockney Roberts from Willow Rock Brewing Company. We are here in Cicero at the Willow Rock Pizza Pub.
And I'm Kevin Williams, also from Willow Rock Brewing Company. Happy to be here and happy to be partnering with CNS and Dan Tortora.
You want some place where you can feel comfortable and hopefully ingratiate yourself with the community. And Kevin, he grew up right down the road from here. I grew up in Brewerton, so not too far away. We know the area, we know the people, they're great, and we were just really excited to be able to come to the area.
Yeah, and having the opportunity to meet some of these coaches, some of the people in general already, and seeing the CNS colors kind of around, and already partnering on a smaller level with individual teams really made this make sense to us to really formalize kind of a partnership with the school and get this rolling.
You know, Willow Rock to me has always been about high quality beverages, high quality experiences, and now high quality food in our pizza pub. You know, that was something new for us when we came to Cicero. Right from the drop, we knew we were going to have a focus on the highest quality food to go with our high quality beer. At the Willow Rock Pizza Pub, you're getting high quality, hand cut, top notch ingredients. We're open for lunch. That's a really important thing for us, is to be able to get that person in here like, hey, you only got 30 minutes for lunch, but we're gonna have something for you that you can get quickly and available to everybody.
Yeah, we wanted something that was just a little bit outside the box, a little bit outside of comfort zone, but still something that you could rely on to be consistent and easy to look at and easy to be like, oh, I can see myself eating this. I can see myself wanting to have that more than once. Eating a whole pizza like our beef on weck pizza, I've never seen one anywhere. It's just a great ideas, great inspiration across the board. We're their spot to stop. We're their friendly neighborhood watering hole, as well as pizza place and place to stop for a restaurant. Not just beer drinkers here. We've got wines, we've got cocktails, we got non-alcoholic stuff for the kids.
The location is more important today than it ever has been before, and we're lucky enough to be here in Cicero. The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is a place where you can bring your family. You can come in, you can grab a soda, you can relax. You can come after a game, before a game, your parents, your grandparents. Our goal is to make sure that everyone's comfortable here. We want students, we want athletes, we want your coaches. It's going to be a good time. So come here, enjoy the high quality food, high quality beverage that we're going to offer to everybody. And hey, go North Stars.
We're so happy to have the North Stars. We are very much a kid-friendly establishment. We have tons of space outside for everybody to be playing outside, as well as listening to live music, enjoying some pizza.
The Willow Rock Pizza Pub is open 6 days a week here in Cicero. That is Tuesday through Sunday. And our website is willowrockbrew.com, and our socials are at Willow Rock Brew. So find us on the net, find us in person. We'll see you soon.
And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. And of course, thank you and a welcome to our newest partners, Gray's Craze of Clay, New York, and the Willow Rock Brewing Company and Willow Rock Pizza Pub, both there in that Cicero Clay area. So much appreciation to our two newest family members here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. With that being said, Murph and I are talking the draft, and we're going to hop right into Murph's team, the New York Jets. And let's jump in to the Jets here. Murph, as you give your thoughts on the New York Jets, I'm going to let everybody know here really quick just to paint the picture, and then Murph will take over with his thoughts on here, and then I'll give my thoughts after he does here on the New York Jets. But starting with his team, the New York Jets, this is what they did in the draft, folks. So in the first round, they had the second pick overall, went with David Bailey, edge rusher out of Texas Tech. And then in the first round, the 16th pick, Kenyon Sadiq, the Oregon tight end. And then they traded back into the first round like they did a few years back in the Sauce Gardner draft, where they got Sauce and Garrett Wilson in the top 10 picks. And then they came back in and got Jermaine Johnson the second, before in the second round going for Breece Hall. Well, this time around, instead of having two in the top 10, they had two in the top 16, traded back in like they did a few years ago for Jermaine Johnson. This time they traded in to get an offensive player in Omar Cooper Jr. out of Indiana at wide receiver. Then they got my guy D'Angelo motherfreaking Pons in the second round. And in the middle of the second round out of Indiana, the corner, to take the place potentially of Ahmad Sauce Gardner. Then they went with Darrell Jackson Jr. out of Florida State at D tackle in the fourth round. Cade Klubnik in the fourth round, Clemson quarterback. And no picks in the 3rd or the 5th. In the 6th round, they went with Inez Cooper, Miami offensive guard. And in the 7th round, V.J. Payne out of Kansas State at safety, looking to bring some pain to the teams that they face this season. Murph, give me your thoughts on the Jets.
Yeah, I kind of was sitting there watching the draft, and when they made the pick at 2, I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I'm happy with either Reese or Bailey. I didn't particularly care which one. Reese is more of a, an off-ball linebacker. Bailey's more of a true edge rusher. They decided to go with the higher floor in David Bailey, which I think was a little surprising after we saw that they canceled their visit with him. So that was a little bit interesting. I wasn't, disappointed by any means. Like, I thought the pick was fine. I didn't think it was anything great, but I wanted Reese. I don't mind that it's Bailey. I would have preferred Reese though. 16's what threw everybody off. I'm sitting there and I hear them take tight end Kenyon Sadiq, and I was like, what? Like, what in the hell are we doing taking a tight end when we literally just drafted one in the 2nd round last year who's clearly a good player?
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, Kenyon Sadiq is a freak, but he's got drop issues. He had issues with drops at Oregon, and it just makes you wonder, like, what on earth were they thinking? At that pick, I figured they were going to go, not that I necessarily wanted him. I figured they were going to go Makai Lemon, the wide receiver that eventually ended up going to the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm just like, well, what? I was like, you got to really believe in this guy if you're going to take a tight end in round 1. And, obviously I know it's not your only pick, but they passed on Brock Bowers. They passed on Tyler Warren. What makes this guy better than those two? Honestly, what makes him better than Brock Bowers, who you passed up? And I don't even remember who we took in that draft. 2024? I think we went offensive line. Something like that. I think that's when we took Olufashanu or something. You don't take either one of those guys, and now you're taking Kenyon Sadiq. I don't know if he's going to be good. I don't know who's throwing him the football, but I don't know if he's going to be any good. It made more sense as they traded back into round 1 to take Omar Cooper Jr. Now, could they have taken the kid from Washington? Yeah, but I think Omar Cooper's a little bit of a better fit. Because, he doesn't have to be a number 1 receiver. He's got great hands. But again, another guy with drop issues. Is that going to translate to the NFL? Who knows? I think that selection was more interesting than Sadiq, partly because he was under consideration at 16. And then he keeps falling and keeps falling and keeps falling, and next thing you know, he's available at 30, and the Jets are like, hey, let's give up I think they gave up a 5th round pick or something. It's like, let's give up a 5th round pick to get a 5th year option on him. It's like, do we think he could fall to 33? Yeah, probably, but let's get a 5th year option. That's what a lot of teams will do and that's the reason why teams will trade back into round 1, is so they can get the 5th year option on those guys. So the Jets will have 3 guys with a 5th year option in David Bailey, Sadiq, and Omar Cooper Jr.
Yeah.
But I think he'll pair well with Garrett Wilson, and now you got, Kenyon Sadiq and Mason Taylor as tight ends. Those are some good weapons. And and we started talking about it before the break. The offensive line is solid. We got some decent weapons. You still got Breece Hall. Hopefully you can work with him on signing an extension so that he stays long term.
Yeah.
And then you got pretty much the team you need going into next year's draft to take a quarterback. I apologize if it sounds like I'm just, stopping talking. I don't want to subject you guys to hearing me cough. So I just hit my mute button for that. But, then they, round two, they decide at pick 18 because they traded back from 44 to take D'Angelo Pons. And obviously he's, his best known for that pick six that he had in the college football playoff. Um, I think was it Ty Simpson that he picked that it was the pick six? Was it the Alabama game?
I'm trying to think of D'Angelo when he had it. It was.
It might have been. I don't know.
I got to think now. Was it Oregon? I'm trying to
think. You know what? Maybe it was the Oregon game.
Yeah, because no. Yeah, it was.
It was because it was Dante Moore.
It was the first play. It was the first play of the game by Oregon on offense, and D'Angelo picked it right in front of me at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. I was there for that. I knew I was there. I was like, wait, I was there for Pons. Yeah, that was the one.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah, I mean he gets the pick six. He's not very big. Like obviously he's 5'8". That is short for a corner. However, he's got great hands. He's got great feet reading ability to stay with his receiver and break up passes. Like he's not the guy that's going to be, this big long-armed, cover corner like Sauce Gardner was. This is one of the picks they got from Dallas in the Quinnen Williams trade. So, obviously the pick from Indianapolis was Kenyon Sadiq. And obviously they got A.D. Mitchell, and then they got a first rounder next year. Yeah. The Cowboys picked so far, D'Angelo Pons, Cade Klubnik was a result of that Cowboys trade, the Quinnen Williams trade, and then a first rounder next year. So keep in mind, folks, Jets have 3 first round picks next year too. They just made 3. They're gonna make 3 next year. That's gonna be fun.
Yeah.
Now let's get to Cade Klubnik for a second because we haven't talked about him yet.
Yeah.
That's the quarterback the Jets ended up deciding to pick, and Drew Aller was already off the board. Carson Beck was already off the board. And as I'm sitting there, I'm thinking, what quarterback really stands out for them to take? I mean, it's like Carson Beck went earlier than I thought. Well, that's not entirely true. I figured he'd go in round 3. I didn't think he'd go as the first pick in round 3, but I figured he would probably go in round 3. Drew Aller went, I believe it was near the end of round 3, right? Or was it the very beginning of round 4?
Drew Aller went in round 3.
Okay, that's what I thought. So Drew Aller goes to the Steelers. They make a good pick. I like that one. I kind of wish that he was going to be on the Jets, but the Steelers are going to get him. Klubnik is an interesting guy, and I would not be shocked if he starts a game this year, at least one. He's a guy that kind of had a little bit of an up and down career at Clemson, but he looks the part. Like he's built like an NFL quarterback. The real question is going to be, can he read a defense at an NFL level? Can he prevent turnovers at an NFL level? I mean, he's not a guy that's very mobile. Like he's not going to really be scrambling for first downs the way you see a lot of quarterbacks in the NFL these days. He profiles more as a pocket passer. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him. He's probably going to be the backup because Geno Smith is the only quarterback the Jets have on the roster at the moment. So, I mean, I guess I'm guessing he'll be the backup. And inevitably, when Geno Smith looks horrible 6 weeks into the season and the Jets are 0-6 or 1-5, there will probably be calls for Cade Klubnik to start. And I will probably be among those fans calling for him to start. I'm interested to see what he's got. I really do, and I really am. And the Jets have taken swings on mid-round quarterbacks in the past, and they haven't worked out. People always say, like, oh, you got to get your quarterback in round 1 or round 2, right? Like, if you look at some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, I'm going to just rattle a couple off the top of my head. Patrick Mahomes, first-round pick. Josh Allen, first-round pick. Joe Burrow, first-round pick. Matthew Stafford, first round pick. Jalen Hurts, second round pick. Goodness. Drake May, first round pick. Caleb Williams, first round pick. Trevor Lawrence, first round pick.
Ryan Leaf, baby.
Goodness. I mean, that's 8 right there, and 7 of them are first round picks, and there's more. There are a lot more.
Trey Lance,
But
baby.
in terms of guys that have been, that are starting quarterbacks in the league that are not, like even Geno Smith was a second round pick. Jaden Daniels, first round pick. That's another one. Like even you looking at teams that aren't using guys that were drafted in round 1, there's not a lot. I mean, Dak Prescott, I want to say, was a 4th round pick. Tyler Shuck, I think, was a 3rd round pick.
Dan Marino, first round pick.
Yeah.
Marino, that was the draft that had the record.
Well, yeah,
before the
that
record
was
broken.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, Lamar, first round pick. Sam Darnold, first round pick. Granted, not all to the team that they're currently on.
Murph,
but
you forgot Zach Wilson. How dare you?
I'm not talking about busts. I'm talking about the good guys.
I know, but when you talk about first round picks, I'm just throwing them in.
I know.
I want to see what you do. Yeah.
I know, but what I'm saying is, these teams think the blueprint is first round pick because there are so many. Round 1, round 2. That's why the Rams took Ty Simpson round 1. Ty Simpson's going to sit for a year, 2, maybe even 3. It's going to depend on how long Matthew Stafford's got left. I mean, he's coming off an MVP year. I don't think he's retiring yet. Aaron Rodgers, first round pick. But in terms of, Jackson Dart, first round pick. It's just more and more that keep coming ahead. So it's like you almost have to find them in round 1, because the guys that are being successful from the mid to late rounds of the draft are few and far between. I mean, yes, everybody wants to find their Tom Brady, pick 199 in round 6. But there's only one Tom Brady.
Or Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, so like just in terms of what I know about in the NFL, you got Brock Purdy, obviously was Mr. Irrelevant, 7th round pick. Last pick in the entire draft.
Yes.
You have Dak Prescott, who I believe was a 4th round pick. You have Tyler Shuck, who I believe was a 3rd round pick. Jacoby Brissett, I believe, was a 4th round pick. 3rd or 4th round pick. There's not many. Like, that's 4 right there. There's maybe 3 or 4 more off that I could think of.
Yeah, Jacoby, 3rd round, 91st overall. Just to let everybody know, Jacoby Brissett, a guy that played at NC State, that I defended, that I was excited about being in the NFL, that filled in for when Tom Brady went out with the Patriots. He was with the Colts. He's bounced all over the place. This guy is one of the best guys in the country to step in and be your starter if he's your backup. And people are finally starting to go, hey, Jacoby's at Arizona. That's not a bad guy to have starting. And I'm like, man, it took you 5-6 years to say it. But, I mean, at least they're finally saying some respectful things for Jacoby Brissett, who has not been, in any stretch of the imagination, a guy who can't go in there and push your team forward. And it's not Jacoby's fault that Arizona's got a lot of problems on defense and with their offensive line. But I'm happy people are finally starting to show love to the 3rd round, 91st overall pick out of NC State, Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, and I just found the list of teams starting quarterbacks, and just to continue that. So I'm going to start at the bottom because it's a tier list. It's some of them are terrible. Shador Sanders, not a 1st round pick. He was picked round 5. Let's see. Jacoby Brissett picked in round 3. Tyler Shuck, I believe, picked in round 4, 3 or 4. That's 3. Yeah. Let's see. Keep going. Brock Purdy, round 7.
Yeah, Shuck was actually.
And Dak Prescott. There's
Shuck,
5.
Shuck plays.
There are 5 quarterbacks, starting quarterbacks, that were not picked in either rounds 1 or 2. And realistically, there's only like 2 or 3 from round 2.
Shuck was.
He was
40th overall last year.
He was round 2?
Yeah, they picked him early, and people were,
I swear I thought he was round 3.
No, they were balking at Tyler Shuck being
4.
picked early. Yeah.
So it's 4 then. There are 4 quarterbacks that were drafted later than round 2 in the NFL. 4.
That are starting right now.
So that are current starting quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So all of these teams are seeing the blueprint. You need to take the guy in round 1. Yes, that is true. But you need to take the right guy. You can't just take a guy because you're desperate. That is when you end up with guys like Ryan Leaf, guys like Zach Wilson, guys like Jamarcus Russell, guys like Tim Couch, guys like Trey Lance, players like that, Josh Rosen. That's how you end up with guys like that. Mitchell Trubisky is another one. That's how you end up with mistakes like that. You gotta find. You can't just get a quarterback and expect them to plug and play and be great.
Yeah. No.
You have to get the right one. The Raiders are getting the right one. The Rams, maybe, but he's 2 or 3 years away. He's going to sit behind Stafford for a while. That's the Jordan Love model. Yeah. That's the Aaron Rodgers model.
That was
which, as we've seen, has been very successful.
Ty Simpson was the biggest surprise of the first round.
I thought he was going to go round 1. I didn't think he was going to go high at 13.
He was the biggest surprise of the first round. I'm going to tell you why. So I had him predicted in my mock draft that we did at Pizza Man. I had, and shout out to Pizza Man, to the Delia family and everybody on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville, New York. Go and visit them all throughout the week. We had a great show on stage. Al Romano, Pitt champion with the Pitt Panthers in college. Obviously comes from great Pitt history with Dan Marino and the Larry Fitzgeralds and the Tony Dorsetts. And, of course, on the defensive line, Mr. Al Romano, who played multiple years in the NFL, coming from Solvay, New York. And shout out to Cookie, who joined us as well, Jeff Cook, who is the president of the Beeville Bills Backers Club, as Pizza Man is a very proud Bills backers bar, but they welcome every single team. So we're up there, we're on stage, we're doing our thing. I did the mock draft. I predicted that Ty Simpson would go in the first round, but he would go 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers because Pittsburgh's in a situation right now where I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come back, but it's just my belief. It's not like I talked to him. If I had spoken to Aaron Rodgers, I would tell you probably a source if he told me to keep it to myself. But if I know people that are close to Aaron, and I could probably tug on that string and see what they know, I think he's going to come back. But I thought that Ty Simpson would be the move that they would make. They have Will Howard and they have Mason Rudolph. That's all who's currently on the roster for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. We know it hasn't worked long-term for Mason Rudolph, and Will Howard really hasn't gotten the chance after winning the first ever 12-team college football playoff with Ohio State, and I was on site on location for that and got to interview Will Howard, who came from Kansas State and played 1 year at Ohio State and won a national championship. I think Aaron's coming back, but I thought the insurance policy would be to get Ty Simpson 21 overall to the Steelers. When he went 13 to the Rams, Reuben Bain Jr. was still there. This is a team that doesn't have Aaron Donald anymore of the last couple of years. I'm looking at the Rams. Now, I think Murph was here when I said this, but right after the Seattle Seahawks won the title in the NFL, I said that 2 teams that I believe have the best chance of winning this year's NFL title in 26-27, number 1 Seahawks, number 2 Rams. Vegas came out with their odds. Vegas agreed with me. Number 1 Seahawks, number 2 Rams, and I swear to you on all that is holy, I did not, or I promised you, I don't want to say I swear to you, I promised you on all things that are holy, I did not know that Vegas agreed with me until after I said it and then I saw it. So I already thought the Rams were in good position. I thought they bolster up their defense. to face the teams that they will face in the NFC West and beyond, like the Seahawks, and instead they went quarterback. Sean McVay got interviewed, and he looked like he had to talk about his girlfriend that he just broke up with. That is the face that he made. It was like, you want me to say nice things about the girl that just walked out of my apartment? That's what it felt like. Now, the sense of it is that maybe McVay, and this is just me giving a thought. This is not me knowing anything about the room, and somebody else had talked to me about this. John Newman and I spoke about this, so John is with me on this wavelength, and I agree with him. It seems like McVay maybe wanted to go one way, and the front office wanted to go another way, and that is why. But listen, shout out to Sean McVay for not going there and doing coach speak and just smiling and going, I love Ty Simpson. I think it's great that he was sitting there.
I think he's the best guy we could have picked in this entire draft.
Right. And I feel like I feel like he sat there wanting to say, we could have gone here. We could have gone there. I thought they were going to go edge rusher. I really did. And I said, if Reuben Bain
a lot of people did.
If Reuben Bain falls to you, a guy that I covered, interviewed, and spent time around this season in Miami, that's the guy you go with. And they didn't draft him. And I agree with Cookie. He said in our mock draft, Reuben Bain's going anywhere from 5 to 15, and he went 15. At 13, it made sense for the Rams to take him. When they didn't, they shook things up. I understand that Matt Stafford may have just this year or maybe a year after this year. Okay, I get that. I also think that Matt Stafford is playing arguably his best football in his career since he came to the Rams. This is not a move that you make. This is not a move that you make this high. Ty Simpson, I don't think anybody was going to be taking him there. So if I'm the Rams and I want to take Ty Simpson, I'm going to trade down. I'm going to get some draft capital. I'm going to get another pick or two. I'm going to do what Cleveland did and say, I'm going to try and get my guy 7 picks later, but because who was going to take him? I mean, if you go back and you look at the NFL draft and you look at round 1, okay, if you go back to the draft and you go by rounds and you say to yourself, okay, they took him at 13th overall, let's look at what was next. The Ravens at 14 weren't going to take him. The Bucks at 15 weren't going to take him. The Jets at 16 maybe would have taken him. At 17, the Lions weren't going to take him. At 18, the Vikings weren't going to take him. At 19, the Panthers weren't going to take him. At 20, the Eagles weren't going to take him. So 21, the Steelers, that's where I had him going. So the only threats you had were 16 and 21. So you could have called up the Jets, and you could have had a conversation with the Jets. There's a bunch of things that or not with the Jets. They could have had a conversation with a bunch of other teams here. They could have talked to the Ravens. They could have talked to the Bucks. They could have talked to the Lions. There's teams that they could have had discussions with. But here's the thing, too, in and of itself. I'm not sold on Ty Simpson. And it's no disrespect to him at all. I'm not sold on Ty Simpson. You draft a guy 13th overall. You're telling Matt Stafford, when you retire, this is our starter for the next 10 to 12 years. I don't believe that. And if I don't believe that, I'm not wasting that pick. And I'm not trying to knock Ty Simpson. Go get your money. Go do your thing. Ty Simpson could not figure out Indiana to save his life. Okay? And then he talked about how he knew everything that Indiana was going to do. So then my response to that was, so you knew everything, but you still couldn't beat it. So what did that tell me? That you have the knowledge, but you don't have the tools, or you can't adjust? I don't like this pick because it went to the Rams and it went too high. It was the biggest surprise of the first round of the draft. Now, it might pan out, or he might be on the roster for 3 or 4 years. The Rams have proven that they can bring in guys later on that are serviceable. And I don't know what you're trying to say to Matt Stafford by bringing this guy in that early. To me, if I'm Sean McVay, I'm going, great. Now I got to call up Stafford. I got to talk him off a ledge. We got to have a conversation about what the front office thinks. I mean, is this the Patriots all over again? Is this the Patriots with Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo? Like, where maybe the owner thinks something, but the coach thinks something else? I don't like what this could do to the Rams, because again, I think the Rams were the second best team going into the season to get to the title and win the NFL title next to the Seahawks. And in order to get there and get over the Seahawks, you have to, in my opinion, make your defense a little bit stronger. And they had plenty of players that they could have taken at that time to make their defense stronger. So I'm kind of flabbergasted and thrown that this would be the pick that they would make. Speaking of the Rams at 13 overall, I don't think it's good for morale. I don't think it's good for the locker room. I think it causes confusion, frustration, and I think it tells the team, like, we're ready to move on whenever you are, Matt. And I think this pick this high, taking a quarterback, could backfire on the Rams season if they don't get this thing under control.
I think you're overreacting a little bit.
I don't think I am.
To be totally honest with you. And well, for starters, that is the best possible landing spot for Ty Simpson. He is going to learn behind a future Hall of Famer for however long he ends up being there. Listen, Matthew Stafford has been talking about retirement for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's coming. There's no guarantee he's playing past this year. And if you're the Rams, you get this free pick from the Falcons because you traded back last year. I think they went defense with their pick, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Who did?
The Rams did. Or did they trade back?
The Rams last year?
No, this year. With their pick. Not the Falcons pick.
With the pick that the Rams had.
No, they didn't.
You're saying the one that they traded to the Falcons?
They didn't trade a pick to the Falcons.
I'm confused by what you're saying to me right now.
Didn't they have 2 first-round picks?
I'm checking right now.
They didn't make 2 first-round picks.
No,
Doesn't look like
it. So the Rams finalized a trade let's see, dealing their 2025 first-round pick to the Atlanta Falcons as part of a package for the 2026 draft. So they traded their first-round pick last year.
Then where was their first-round pick this year?
It says the Falcons received the Rams 2025 first-round pick 2020 number 26 and 2025 third-round pick 101. Rams received a 2025 second-round pick used on tight end Terrence Ferguson and a 2025 seventh-round pick, a 2026 first-round pick. So the Falcons got 2 picks last year. The Rams got 2 picks last year, 1 pick this year.
Where the hell did their other pick go?
That is the other.
Wait. They traded it for Trent McDuffie. That's where it went.
Let me see here.
That makes more sense. So they had this.
The Rams also acquired cornerback Trent McDuffie by trading a package that included 2026 29th overall pick outside of the deal with the Rams. Okay. So, yes. So they would have had 26 and 29.
Yeah. So, regardless, obviously Ty Simpson's their only first-round pick. That was the best possible place for Ty Simpson to end up because he's going to sit behind Stafford for however long, and he's going to learn a lot. Ty Simpson's a very intelligent quarterback. The fundamentals, though, need work. He's raw. When you pick a raw prospect in round 1, you don't want to start him right away. So what are they going to do? He's going to be the backup to Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford, as I said, has been talking about retirement for years. Who knows how many more years he's going to play? Could he? Yeah, he's just coming off an MVP. He's got at least 1 more year. Is he going to play 2 more? Is he going to play 3 more? I don't know. Yeah. However, if I'm the Rams, knowing that, when are you going to be picking this high again? When are you going to be in position to take the guy you want? They wanted Ty Simpson, clearly. Yeah. They called Matthew Stafford before the draft even started and told him they were going to try and take Ty Simpson. So Matthew Stafford was well aware. They told him. He understood. He didn't necessarily blame them for it. So, if I'm Matthew Stafford, I'm just thinking, all right, yeah, in theory, they're looking to the future. However, maybe it's a little annoying that they're taking a quarterback instead of, a piece that would help. Maybe you'd want them to take, more help on defense, maybe another weapon. It's not like it's, they didn't have a lot of holes, but the couple that they did have would have been nice if they addressed them. But at the same time, if I'm Matthew Stafford, he's going to take Ty Simpson under his wing and he's going to mentor him. He's going to. That's the type of human being Matthew Stafford is. And he's going to do that while also trying to go out there and win a championship. He wants to go out on top. The game's in LA again this year.
Yeah.
He wants to win it at home again. And if they do, he is riding off into the sunset and nobody would blame him. And then next year, hey, the Rams already got their guy. They don't need to worry about taking a quarterback. They're going to be picking 32nd if that's the case. So it's not like you're going to pick a quarterback at 32. So what are you going to do? You already have your guy now. Now you can start to build the team around him. Because the team's already good. You got a generational wide receiver in Puka Nacua that they stole in round 4 or round 5 or whenever he got picked in, I think it was 2023, because he's a freak. Thank you to whatever fantasy football podcast told me to pick him up for $1 in free agency in my dynasty league, and he's now the number 1 dynasty receiver. So thank you very much for that. But I don't think you're giving the Rams enough credit for this pick, and I didn't necessarily want Ty Simpson on the Jets because I knew they were going to try to start him right away, and it wasn't going to be good.
Yeah.
Ty Simpson on the Rams, I think, is a phenomenal pick. Maybe a little early. Yeah, maybe they should have traded down. But full well the Jets like him a lot. So you couldn't have traded down much past 16. So that leaves you with 14 and 15. Neither one of those teams were trading up. So you think, all right, we're just going to stick and pick. Maybe it's a little high, but they stick and pick. They took Ty Simpson.
Yeah.
I think it makes a lot of sense for the Rams because they need to start thinking to the future. The amount of teams that are drafting their quarterback in round 1 with a current starter that's good, that they like, has been a lot. And a lot of them have panned out well. Look at Lamar Jackson. They still had Joe Flacco. They had just won a championship a couple of years earlier. And they picked Lamar Jackson at the end of round 1. Patrick Mahomes. They had Alex Smith. Alex Smith's been a good quarterback. Couldn't get him over the hump, but Alex Smith was a good quarterback. That's another one. Jordan Love with the Packers. Look at what they did. Sits behind Aaron Rodgers for 3 years. Is he, he's probably the worst quarterback on that list so far. But again, he's doing it. He's a good player. He's going to be a starter for a while. I'm not saying he's going to win a championship with the Packers, but he could.
Yeah.
You got Michael Penix. He hasn't been great, but they had Kirk Cousins. They picked him 8th overall 2 years ago.
That was a head scratcher for a lot of people, though.
That one definitely was a head scratcher
because
Kirk
Cousins had
because
just
they
been
had
paid
just
$100
signed
million.
Yeah,
So
they had just signed Kirk Cousins. If Kirk Cousins was in year 2 of that deal, that's a different story. But him being in year 1 of that deal was a little curious.
yeah,
But this is not the first time that this has happened, folks.
no,
It happens all the time. And a lot of times, these players are better off for it. When these guys get to sit and learn behind a good professional quarterback. Patrick Mahomes had Alex Smith. Alex Smith was probably one of the most underrated quarterbacks of the 2010s. A very good player, very intelligent football player. If you ask Patrick Mahomes, he will tell you he learned a lot from Alex Smith.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson with Joe Flacco. Very different players. But Lamar definitely learned a lot from Joe Flacco about how to be a professional quarterback, how to be an NFL quarterback. Different situation, not a first-round pick, but Dak Prescott sat behind Tony Romo. Same thing. Back in, I want to say, 2016? 15? Something like that. But he sat behind Tony Romo. And he was better off because of it. This needs to happen more and more. Teams need to be willing to take quarterbacks earlier in the draft, even if they already have a starter, so that they can learn. The NFL is not like Major League Baseball. There's no minor leagues. These guys are just getting thrown to the wolves. Fernando Mendoza is going to start week 1. He's probably going to get sacked 8 times. He'll get killed. And, he's going to be sitting in an ice bath after the game thinking, what the heck did I get myself into? Joe Burrow did the same thing with Cleveland. Or with Cleveland. With Cincinnati. These teams that are getting their quarterback later in the draft, like middle of round 1, and letting them sit and not start week 1, every single one of them has been better off because of it. Jackson Dart didn't start week 1. He sat behind Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson is about as good a guy to sit behind as you can possibly have. It didn't work out for the Giants, at least, because he wasn't, he didn't really do very much for them. But he was a professional. He cheered on Jackson Dart when he got benched. He helped him get better. Jackson Dart had 4 or 5 weeks to learn behind Russell Wilson before he actually started to play. Jameis Winston, too, having him on the roster. Same thing. Been around the league a few times, but he knows how to be a professional quarterback. Keep in mind, these are kids. They're 21, 22, 23 years old. They need to sit and learn. Carson Beck's got a good situation in Arizona sitting behind Jacoby Brissett. Ty Simpson's got a great situation sitting behind Matthew Stafford. If Aaron Rodgers comes back, that's great for Drew Aller and for Will Howard. Will Howard got to sit behind him last year. Aaron Rodgers kind of took him under his wing a little bit. Same thing he was trying to do with Zach Wilson, except Zach Wilson had to play right away. That wasn't necessarily Zach Wilson's fault. Ultimately, at the end of the day, while you could have gone somewhere else, I applaud the Rams for having the courage to go and take that guy. And I also applaud them for having the foresight to tell their quarterback, their championship-winning quarterback, hey, this is what our plan is. We just want to give you a heads up. We're not trying to, surprise you. We don't want to be like a gotcha. But we know you've been talking about retirement for the last couple of years. We want to have a plan for the future. And I'm sure Matthew Stafford said, look, maybe I don't agree with it, but I get it. That's the type of human being Matthew Stafford seems to be. So I give the Rams a lot of credit for this pick. I do think it was early. However, if you honestly thought the Jets were going to take him at 16, then yeah, you needed to take him at 13. Because the Jets very well could have taken him at 16. So when I saw the Rams pick him, I was like, oh, thank goodness, now we don't have to worry about picking him. Because the Jets he would have been starting by week 3. Kate Klubnik is going to be starting at some point this season.
Yeah.
That's why I was worried about Ty Simpson. Because he is raw. He's not ready to step in and start. He doesn't have to do that with the Rams. That was the perfect situation for him to go to.
This is what I'll say. Aaron Rodgers was drafted 24th overall, not 13. And he had time behind Brett Favre, who didn't want to retire. Jordan Love was drafted 26th overall, not 13. When you draft somebody as high as Ty Simpson, the expectation is that maybe you want him to play right away. The Rams are very close, in my opinion, of being a title contending team that can win the title. When you have defensive players available where that is, this is where I say I think you could have gotten Ty Simpson later. Maybe the Jets take him, maybe they don't. Maybe the Steelers take him, maybe they don't. But outside of that, you don't have a lot of booby traps in the first round. They could have taken him in the second round. They could have traded down and gotten him in the second round. I look at the Rams making a decision for their future, and I don't deny that. I'm not mad that they made a decision for their future. I'm not mad that they made this move. I'm looking at this saying, could they have not made this move next year? Could they have not looked at next year's draft and said to themselves, okay, maybe a Dante Moore falls to us, maybe a Julian Sayin, maybe a Brendan Sorsby out of Texas Tech, maybe Lenora Sellers out of South Carolina, maybe a Drew Mestemeyer out of Oklahoma State, maybe a CJ Carr out of Notre Dame, maybe a Darian Mensah out of Miami falls to us. Maybe we can pick that up a little bit later if we have a good season. I'm not knocking that they build toward their future, and I'm not knocking teams that bring a guy in, because nobody should start day one as a rookie, because especially a quarterback. Let me rephrase. Guys are going to come in and they're going to plug and play, offensive line, defensive line. When you're a quarterback in the NFL, it's very hard to come in week one and be good week one of your rookie season. Trevor Lawrence struggled. Peyton Manning struggled. Guys struggle. It happens. Guys that have won championships have struggled. Guys that have been in the playoffs have struggled. It's very hard to step in week one as a quarterback in the NFL. Other positions, corner, safety, offensive line, defensive line, wide receiver, running back, yeah, it's hard, but that's because the emphasis is on the quarterback. The quarterback has to make sure that they get the ball out. The quarterback has to make sure that they get the ball to you. The quarterback has to make sure whatever the defense does, that they have a response to it. If you do not have a quarterback, you're probably not winning a title. That's why when the Colts played the Bears in the championship game years ago, when I was a senior in college at Marywood University, and they said, who are you picking, Bears or Colts? I said, what person would pick the Bears with Rex Grossman? He had a 3% quarterback rating, I think, going into the title game. If you do not have a quarterback, you're not going to get much done. You can plug and play a rookie all over. Except for that position of quarterback, you really, really, really are going to strike gold once in a while. But yes, I do agree. Pat Mahomes sits behind Alex Smith. Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers, they sit behind guys, right? Because Aaron Rodgers sits behind Brett Favre and Jordan Love sits behind Aaron Rodgers. I get that. I understand that. I feel that. I know that. And I have talked about those sentiments and agreed with that. I just thought this was too high for a team that is very close to knocking on the door of winning another NFL title in the Matt Stafford era. I just thought this was too early, and I wonder if Ty Simpson is the guy. Ty Simpson has had one good season. We've seen this happen with other players. We've seen guys have one good season, get drafted high, and then what happens? We know that Ty Simpson handled being a starter one time. He went from throwing the ball 5 times, 20 times, and 25 times at Alabama to throwing it 473 times last year. He completed 305. He had a 64.5% completion percentage, which was great. 3,567 yards, 28 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. But toward the end of the season, and against good teams like Georgia, like Indiana, he kind of disappeared, and he got hurt in that Indiana game. When we look at the future of the Rams, if they got to believe when they take that 13th pick this year, they got to believe that, I think they're kind of a year ahead of time, that they really honestly think this guy's going to be our quarterback that can lead us to an NFL title post Matt Stafford, and he's going to give us multiple chances within a decade. I don't know if that's going to happen. I hope it does. I hope Ty Simpson becomes that guy. I hope Ty Simpson is consistent. I hope Matt Stafford takes him under his wing and teaches him all these things. I just think it's too early to draft your heir apparent in this draft that really didn't have a lot of quarterbacks. Next year, maybe you got more. We'll see who shapes up. and ships out to the NFL draft in 27. But in the 2026 draft, in a light draft, I would rather the Rams pick up a defensive player, get an edge rusher, and then go figure out something with a trade. Cleveland's got to get rid of one of their guys. And
yeah, but that's not going to be you're going to get Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel was terrible last year.
But the thing is,
Shedeur Sanders was terrible last year.
when you look
And they
at
think he's going to start.
when you look at what is out there, it's slim pickings in free agency at quarterback. But there's also other opportunities. Keep in mind,
You're going to give up a first-round pick for Mac Jones?
no, you're not going to give up you're not going to give up a first-round pick. But you look at what is out there, what is backing up, what is a second or third string guy, who can you bring in? The Rams have the Rams resurrected the career of Baker Mayfield that got him to the Bucs, that got him where he is today. The Rams took a guy that the Browns had thrown out, the NFL had basically thrown out, and gave him an opportunity to be there with Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford goes down, Baker Mayfield has to fill in, and now he becomes, if he doesn't have what he showed in LA with the Rams, there might not have ever been a Baker Mayfield starting in the NFL again. We may have
Let me ask you something now.
We might have never seen that once.
But let me ask you something. Outside of Sam Darnold this past year, when's the last time you saw a guy go from backup to championship winning quarterback?
When you look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, it was forgotten. And then he
that actually won a championship.
He backs up Tom Brady and gets there. I think he's capable. I think
not capable, like, who actually won a championship.
There's not many that back up and do it. But what I'm saying is the Rams gave an opportunity, the Seahawks gave an opportunity that the Vikings had previously given to Sam Darnold. It is atypical to see that, but it's playing into my point. There's guys in the NFL right now that have experience that might be able to bridge that gap. The Rams are a team that are in a place where they're close. So
but you don't want to rebuild, though. Why would you want to rebuild when you can go straight back into another?
If you're that close.
But if you're talking about a bridge quarterback, that's basically a rebuild.
I'm talking about a quarterback that can extend the path and extend the runway post Matt Stafford. I'm not saying that Ty Simpson can't be the future. I'm saying it's too early and too soon. It was too early of a pick, and it was too soon of a pick. Because I don't know if Ty Simpson is going to be the Rams quarterback for 10 to 12 years. That's what I'm saying. If you're going to make that pick, you have to be beyond a reasonable doubt very, very, very confident that you saw enough in 1 year out of Ty Simpson at Alabama that he is going to be the guy that will lead you to the promised land, that he's going to feel like a guy you picked 1, 2, 3rd, 5th, 10th. He's going to feel like that guy, that you're going to be smarter than the whole rest of the NFL because you got him so early. And listen, I hope it is, but Jordan Love didn't pan out. Jordan Love hasn't stayed healthy. Jordan Love's been better at times, but he's wildly inconsistent. Aaron Rodgers, he worked. Pat Mahomes worked. But beyond Pat Mahomes sitting behind Alex Smith and Aaron Rodgers sitting behind Brett Favre, how many of those guys drafted early sitting behind panned out? How many of those guys that were a pick that was not as high as Ty Simpson work out that they made that pick and it ended up panning out? You talk about the history, let's talk about the history. Besides Pat Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, how many guys do you draft and sit for 1, 2, 3 years and they actually pan out?
Steve Young?
What'd you say?
Steve Young?
Steve Young behind Joe Montana. So he said...
You asked the question, I answered the question.
Right. In recent history, who's doing it? In the last decade, who's doing it? Who's been the heir apparent that sat behind a guy who is the guy who's actually panned out?
The other problem, though, is we don't see it. It doesn't even
Kurt
happen
Warner.
often.
They didn't have Arizona didn't have a guy behind Kurt Warner who is capable of doing that. We look at some of the other guys. Peyton Manning, beyond Peyton Manning, you have a guy like Andrew Luck, right? But in that space, how much of that was real? Well, that wasn't really a learning piece because Peyton Manning moves on to Denver. But when you look at a guy that's sitting there for 1, 2, 3, 4 years, it is very atypical in the NFL to see a guy sitting and waiting that long. And really, Aaron Rodgers is in that world. Pat Mahomes kind of in that world. But Ty Simpson may be sitting for 2 or 3 years. behind Matt Stafford if Matt Stafford stays healthy and they continue to push with this guy. If he wins a title this year, then yeah, I think he's probably done. But if he doesn't and they get close again, does he stay 2 or 3 years and does Ty Simpson sit there? I'm saying this could be a great pick. It could be a great move.
Ty Simpson sat around for 3 years at Alabama before he got to play.
Right, but just because he sat around 3 years at Alabama doesn't mean he wants to sit 3 years in the NFL waiting for this to happen. All I'm saying in my position that I'm taking is that it was too high of a pick too early and maybe a year too early for the Rams. If it pans out, it pans out. But I don't think that is the pick you make at 13th overall in 2026 when you're the second best odds of winning the NFL title and you could have got yourself an edge rusher. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying trade down and get Ty Simpson. I'm saying trade down to the 20s.
But if nobody wants to trade down, there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh, guys were trading up
if
and down
nobody
and all
wants
around the
to,
corner.
if
Philadelphia
no one
was
wants to
trading
trade
around.
down,
San Fran was trading around. Tennessee was trading
one
around.
or two
The Jets were
picks.
trading around. There was a lot of trades happening in the first round. There was a lot of moves
but
being
who
made in
wanted
the
to go
first
up
round.
to 13?
The Buffalo Bills, you could have traded and messed around with Buffalo, who kept wanting to trade down and get more picks and get more capital. There's plenty of phone calls to make. Listen, bluffs were called in this draft. Miami traded with Dallas 1 pick, okay? Because maybe they called Dallas and called their bluff, said, hey, we really like Caleb Downs. What are you going to do about it? Because that was 11-12. There was a lot of teams making trades in the first round. There was a lot of teams moving in the 20s. There was a lot of teams moving up, down, and around the corner. The Pittsburgh
Once
Steelers.
we got past 12, there wasn't another trade until 20.
But
the Eagles traded up two or three spots to go get their
traded
guy.
up 3 spots while Pittsburgh
They're not
going to
trade up.
on the phone.
They're not going
with
to trade
Kyle
up
Lemon.
10 spots.
But you can make that phone call. The Rams could have called
The
somebody.
Rams probably wanted a first-round pick back if they were going to trade back that
somebody
far.
at 13 and said, do you like Reuben Bain Jr.? Do you like Akeem Mesidor? Do you like this D tackle? Do you like this DN? Do you like this guy that's going to be available here? Do you like this wide receiver? They could have talked to Cleveland and said, do you like KC Concepcion? We're kind of thinking about him. You can call the bluff. Cleveland called the bluff of Kansas City and it worked. Cleveland called a massive bluff of Kansas City and it worked. There's no way the Rams couldn't make phone calls at 13
just they
and said,
probably knew they could get better value for their guy at 9 than 6. And they pick up picks in the process.
Right, but you call a bluff. You call a bluff. There's no way
how
that
is that a
Miami
bluff,
doesn't
though?
call the bluff of Dallas 1 pick ahead of them, that they don't say, hey, we heard you like Caleb Downs. We're going to take him. What are you going to do about it? So, I mean, you can constantly do that. I'm saying Ty Simpson may pan out. Ty Simpson may make sense. Ty Simpson may be the future guy. I hope that he is. My argument, too early, maybe the wrong draft. That's my argument when it comes to this pick at 13th overall and where the Rams are stationed currently, in my opinion, as one of the top 2 teams in the NFL to win the title going into 2026-27. This, to me, is not the move you make at this time with the team you currently have. This is not the move that you make. The Rams have proven that, gosh forbid, anything happens to Matt Stafford, they are able to make moves with veterans that can fill in for 2, 3, 4 weeks. They have already proven they can do that with a John Walford, who comes from Wake Forest and is not a household name. With a Baker Mayfield that was left for dead in Cleveland. They have shown that they can win with guys that are in the NFL that you may not know but have the experience or have been out there learning from somebody. This was not the move to make this early at this time. And to your point of guys that had to sit and wait, those moves were made 11 picks later, 13 picks later. They were made at the end of the first
Patrick
round.
Mahomes was picked at pick 10.
That's Patrick Mahomes. Again, one of
I get
two,
that, but
one of
again,
two
like
players.
that was Patrick
That's
Mahomes at number 10.
Besides Patrick Mahomes in recent history, besides Mahomes and Rodgers, who else sits for 3 or 4 years? Nobody. And yeah, if Ty Simpson goes to the Jets, he's playing right away. But I think I think the Jets were smarter to draft Cade Klubnik in the 4th round and put him out there at some point.
Yeah, because
this
if he
season.
stinks, who cares?
But that's the thing. I'd rather take Cade Klubnik in the 4th round than take Ty Simpson in the 1st round.
Believe me, so would I. That's why I'm happy that we got Cade Klubnik. But what I'm saying is, it doesn't happen often, right? Like we've talked about this since 2000. It's maybe happened 5 or 6 times where you're drafting a guy in round 1, maybe early round 2, to sit behind your starter, and maybe be the quarterback of your future. Jalen Hurts is another one. But I think he only sat for like half a year before he started playing, and then the rest was history with the Eagles. But I'm sure they tried to trade down.
Yeah.
I'm sure they did. Because to me, you would have had to trade down twice to get to the 20s.
And you got to think about Steve
There
Young.
was not a team that was going to jump up 10 spots.
You got to think about Steve Young, though, historically, though. He did not sit behind Joe Montana at the beginning of his career. Steve Young was drafted originally by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and he played 14 games in his second season, so he doesn't even count toward that.
Fair enough.
And Brett Favre was a Falcon, which everybody forgets about that. But
but he didn't sit behind somebody.
Very few guys are going to sit and wait for years. This Ty Simpson pick may work out, but we may not see it work out until 3 or 4 years from now.
And that's fine.
And that
if the Rams win a championship between now and then, you think they care?
But 13th overall for this pick, to me, it was not the quarterback for me to take 13th overall with what was available in this draft in a light quarterback draft. It was not the move to make by the Rams that early. That's the only argument I'm making. If the Rams made this move in the second round, great. If they made the move at 20-something with where I thought Pittsburgh was going to do it at 21, fine. But to make it this early, to say 3-4 years from now, we hope it works out. I hope it works out too. I am hoping for Ty Simpson in the NFL. I'm hoping Ty Simpson with the Rams. I'm hoping Ty Simpson post Matt Stafford. But what I'm saying is, I'm the Rams. I got Reuben Bain Jr. staring me in the face. I got the 13th overall pick.
What if they don't like Reuben Bain Jr.?
I don't know why.
What if they didn't think he was that good?
I don't know why in the apple bottom
shortest arms in the history of
it doesn't
the
matter.
combine for edge rushers.
None of that crap matters. Short neck.
That's
short
why he
arms,
fell.
None of that. But that's
why he fell in the draft.
The thing is, none of that crap matters. They can do the measurables. They can do the 40. They can do that. Tyreek Hill, fastest guy in the NFL. Does he have a job right now? So, I mean, it's...
No, because he got his leg destroyed.
Tyreek Hill, look at the guys that are available right now.
But he's got 2 championships.
Look at the guys that are available right now. Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, and...
They're like 33, 34 years old. They're done.
It's not about their age. It's about the problematic stuff. Tyreek Hill, problematic last year. Stephon Diggs, problematic everywhere he's been. There's a reason why you don't want to touch... Yannick Ngakoue, heir apparent on the Jacksonville defense. Why'd they let him go? Now he's been to 4 or 5 NFL teams? Why'd they let him go? They got a second-round pick. They got other stuff for him. Why'd they let him go? He was a problem. Why you let Jalen Ramsey go? He was a problem. Yeah, some of these guys might win championships, but they're problematic. You don't want to deal with a problematic Plaxico Burress, problematic. Look at Antonio Brown, problematic. Le'Veon Bell, problematic. There are guys that cause issues on teams and in locker rooms that are problematic guys that whether they're talented or not or won a championship or not, you don't want to deal with certain things in your locker room. And I was in the Jacksonville locker room watching the problematic guys. The Calais Campbells and the A.J. Boyes, not problematic. Trevor Lawrence, not problematic. Tank Bigsby, not problematic. But you look at Yannick Ngakoue, Telvin Smith, Jalen Ramsey, Marcel Darius. When the Jaguars could have won a title with Jalen Ramsey, he couldn't shut his mouth. He could not shut up to save his life. He just couldn't stop. When he landed in Jacksonville after the Pittsburgh victory and said, we're going to go to New England and we're going to beat them BITCHs, he secured that they were going to lose that game.
What does that have to do with Reuben Bain?
It has to do with the fact that we're talking about guys that we're talking about talent, and you were talking about, well, this guy that fits here and this. There's problematic guys. I would rather take a Reuben Bain who's going to go out there and fight for his life and do everything that he possibly can. Short arms, long arms, this, that. What I'm saying is we talk about guys have this, guys have measurables, guys are fast, guys are that, guys are this. They can jump really high. Okay, who do I want in my locker room? Who do I want leading my team? Who do I want being there? Reuben Bain Jr. Akeem Mesidor, his teammate, got taken 22nd. And if I'm Jim Harbaugh, I'm feeling like I just hit the friggin' lottery that guy fell to 22. What we're talking about is there's talent, there's measurables, and then there's put them out on the field and see what they can do. Do you think Aaron Donald was given the massive amount of love coming out of Pittsburgh? Do you think people were going, he's going to win a Super Bowl? That's going to be a championship caliber guy. That's an all-pro. That's a guy who's going to be able to retire young because he's going to do everything that nobody else could do at his position, rarely, that early. Aaron Donald was not glorified coming out of Pittsburgh. How many of these... Ryan Leaf was glorified. Look what happened. How many of these guys we talk about measurables, we talk about 40, we talk about vertical, we talk about they can broad jump, they can three cone, they can do this and do that. There are guys that have proven. Zaire Franklin, 7th round pick out of Syracuse, started, became a captain. Now he's a Green Bay Packer. He is one of the best guys that the Colts have had defensively in the last decade. But he was a 7th round pick because he came from Syracuse, and Syracuse doesn't get respect. And he didn't do this and he didn't do that. And then he goes on to the team, and all of a sudden people love this guy. Look at Sean Tucker, undrafted, 3 years with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And every time they need a running back to step up in injury, who steps up? He does. Bucky Irving goes out. Who steps up? He does. Rashad White goes out. Who steps up? He does. Undrafted free agent. What I'm talking about in the NFL is we can talk about this, that, and the third. This guy came from this place. He did this. He did that. He did this. People left Mac Jones for dead. They said Mac Jones was crap. Where was he drafted? In the top 15, just like Ty Simpson. Out of Alabama, just like Ty Simpson. And I kept saying, I think Mac Jones is better than people give him credit for. Then he goes off to San Francisco after being with Jacksonville for a cup of coffee, and what does he do? He gives them an opportunity to protect their season with Brock Purdy out. We can talk about all of these measurables and this and that and the third and who gets drafted here and who's this and who played for this team and who did that. But why aren't people saying Ty Simpson played at Alabama, so he had a great offensive line, he had great skill guys? Why aren't they holding him like they held Mac Jones, like they held Jalen Hurts and said, well, these guys may be good, or they might have just been in a good situation. They just had the best line in all of college football. But they're not saying that about Ty Simpson. We argue things that we don't argue for other people coming from the same places. I'm not saying Ty Simpson can't. I'm saying Ty Simpson, like Dwayne Haskins, may he rest in peace, had 1 year playing college football as a starter. And what'd they say about Dwayne? Well, he had 1 year. He's either boom or bust. What'd they say about Trey Lance? He had 1 year that he was good. Did he pan out? Did Dwayne Haskins pan out? So Ty Simpson could pan out, or he could be like Haskins. He could be like Lance, where he had 1 year as a starter, and he never pans out in the NFL. And then you look back at the Rams and go, you wasted the 13th pick, not the 26th pick, not the 29th pick, not the 33rd pick, not the 37th pick. You wasted the 13th overall pick when you were on the doorstep of winning an NFL championship on a guy that played 1 season as a starter. And how many guys that have played 1 season as a starter in college football pan out in the NFL? How many guys who have 1 season under their belt become a 10-year franchise quarterback? If Ty Simpson does it, he might be all by himself. And I hope he is. But again, we're basing the future, the 13th overall pick, on a team that's close to winning an NFL championship, on a guy that you hope does the opposite of every other guy that had 1 year as a starter in college football.
I do also want to point out the fact that a backup running back was drafted in the first round this year. Just want to point that out.
I think that was a great move, though, to get Jadearian.
I think that was interesting, but at the same time, like, he was a backup. It's not like he was starting over Jeremiah Love. Is it going to work? Who knows? It's Seattle, so and they needed a running back now that Kenneth Walker's is going out. I guess Charbonnet, when he comes back, will be their starter, but who knows?
I think Jadearian's going to be between the tackles. I think Charbonnet is going to be the third down guy. I think Charbonnet is meant to be a complement, but not meant to be the starter.
Yeah. I don't know if he's, and I think that's why Kenneth Walker was always so good there is I think because he had a good complement with Charbonnet, but my kind of like the last kind of thing I'll say about the Rams with Ty Simpson, if they were to win a championship this year, and Matthew Stafford rides off into the sunset.
Yeah.
And he retires. If I'm the Rams, I'm licking my chops. Because when you lose a quarterback like that, and don't get me wrong, neither one of us is sitting here saying Ty Simpson is going to be the next great NFL quarterback. Right? He's played 1 year at college. He's played 1 year as a starter in college football.
Yeah.
He was drafted high, partly because he was out of Alabama.
Yeah.
I think he was drafted as high as he was because of the flashes that he showed at the beginning of the year. The first 8 games of the year, he looked like a guy who was going to go number 1 overall. So, I think that's probably more of what, and if you watch the whole season as a whole, you see things start to break down, but they're not all completely his fault. He's, as I said, he's young, he's raw.
Yeah.
He needs to sit and learn. Yeah. That was a great situation for him. The biggest issue is if the Rams decide to pass and take somebody else, their next pick wasn't until number 29 in round 2. Ty Simpson isn't falling that far. They would have had zero chance to take him. They would have had to make 2 trades to get into the 20s. They would have needed to trade back to like 16, 17. I don't think the Jets would have traded up, but 16, 17-ish, and then maybe 20, 22. That would have probably been their best chance. But if you're not really getting the offers that make it worth doing, just keep in mind, it is a risk that if you trade back, somebody doesn't take him. If you trade back and your guy's gone, that kind of kills that plan. For the Browns, it worked out. There's plenty of teams that they trade back, it works out. It does. However, it's not a guarantee. You're not going to get a guarantee from the Jets and from the Steelers that they're not going to pick them. I do think that, I don't know if they would have. I think the Jets potentially could have picked him at 16. You mocked him to the Steelers at 21. Those were 2 very real possibilities.
Yeah.
And if I'm the Rams, I'm thinking to myself, man, if you like that guy that much, you take him, regardless of where that is. If you don't like, if they had another pick at 18, then you take Ruben Bain. Then you take Ruben Bain and say, okay, if he falls to us, that's amazing. We're going to pick him. If he doesn't, not the end of the world. But if you like a guy that much, and you truly believe that he could be your long-term starter post Matthew Stafford, then you take him. When there is a quarterback that you like that much, and while 13 is a bit of a reach,
sorry,
if he got picked at 17, 18, I don't think anybody anybody's batting an eye.
I really
don't.
I thought 21 to the Steelers in this draft.
I figured late round 1. I figured somewhere in the 20s.
I thought that was being generous. But let's be real. The Rams trade down. The Jets take him at 16. The Rams make a trade with the Jets 3 years from now, just like they did with Zach Wilson and Sam Darnold, because they'll let him go eventually.
Well, yeah. But the bottom line is, like, all the best quarterbacks in the NFL are first-round picks. They're not all, all the first-round picks aren't successful, as we've talked about in years past. Doesn't always work out. No. Cam Ward and Jackson Dart look like they're probably going to work out relatively well. I mean, I think Jackson Dart might marginally be better than Cam Ward as we sit today.
I think Caleb Williams has an opportunity to work out. I think Jaden Daniels.
I think Caleb Williams is working out. Yeah. Caleb Williams is making me eat my words. I thought he sucked.
Caleb Williams.
I really did.
I said Caleb Williams would have a better sophomore season than a freshman season. That came to fruition and then in the draft a couple of years ago, I said of all the quarterbacks picked of any round, Jaden Daniels would have the best rookie season of that class. The second best would be Bo Nix, and they completed that one for me. I think that draft with Caleb Williams, Bo Nix, Jaden Daniels, all those guys have an opportunity. I think Bo Nix makes them a championship caliber team in Denver. I think Jaden Daniels healthy makes Washington
they go to
a
championship
team.
If Bo Nix doesn't get hurt.
Right, and I think
let's be clear.
I think they
the
got
Patriots
an opportunity to win it. The Patriots got
sucked.
there because
they were handed that on a silver platter
because Bo Nix went down, and I think Jaden Daniels makes them a perennial contender in Washington to get out of that NFC East and to strike. And if they can get out of that NFC East and get above Philadelphia and a good New York Giants team, there's something to be said there. I think Jackson Dart with John Harbaugh, I think sky's the limit for the New York Giants. There's a lot of guys that have been drafted recently that I didn't think Caleb Williams was going to have a good first year, and he didn't. But I thought he would have a good second year, and he did. I thought Jaden would have a good first year. I thought Bo would have a good first year. I was excited about Jackson Dart, but I did not want him to play right away, and he didn't. So, I mean, of all those guys, my predictions have all flown from, that's all been correct. So thank you to those gentlemen for making me right because they did the work, not me. But when I just did the prediction, when I look at Ty Simpson, I'm just like, even 3 to 4 years from now, is that going to be the guy, and I hope that it is. I hope that it is. But the last two quarterbacks to be under center for Alabama, I haven't been sold on. I was never sold on Jalen Milroe, and I'm not sold on Ty Simpson. It's not that I can't be, but I am not right now.
I think Ty Simpson's a lot better of a player than Jalen Milroe is.
I am really not sold, and Jalen Milroe is a backup in Seattle, and God bless him for that. But I'm not sold. There's guys that have played backups in other places or starters in other places that are backups in the NFL right now that I'm more excited about. Like, I still look to Joe Milton III in Dallas, and I'm like, man, if that guy stepped in for a couple games, what could he do? So there's certain guys that I'm watching that I'm more excited about than like a Ty Simpson or a Jalen Milroe. But I want to hit this really quick because we do have to take a step aside. I want to go back to the Jets draft, and I want to give my assessment here for the Jets. Now, the New York Jets, the first pick that they had, which was second overall, David Bailey, that was the one I predicted. It was going to be Arvell Reese or David Bailey, and ultimately I sided with it being David Bailey. It ended up being David Bailey, and I thought that was the right pick. From there, the Jets picks, when they go with Kenyon Sadiq, I covered Oregon. I was on site with Oregon in multiple games in the college football playoff. I'm happy for Kenyon Sadiq, but I don't understand the pick. You draft Mason Taylor. As Murph alluded to, he was serviceable last year. You have Breece Hall. You have Braylon Allen. You have Garrett Wilson. You don't need Kenyon Sadiq. Geno Smith in his second coming with the Jets, I think is going to be very short-lived, which is why I like the fourth-round pick that I'll get to in a second. Omar Cooper Jr., trading back in, I look at the Jets and I go, why didn't you, if you're going to trade back in at 30th overall to get a wide receiver, why didn't you take two? Why didn't you take more insurance for Garrett Wilson? Because Garrett Wilson thinks he's good, and you got to have that confidence. But is Garrett Wilson, is it always the quarterback's fault? Or is Garrett not running the right routes? Is Garrett not getting himself open? Is Garrett not that guy on every down? Does he need the help? I think he needs the help to open up this offense a little bit. I like Omar Cooper Jr. Again, another guy that I covered in the college football playoff. But the Kenyon Sadiq, 16th overall. Now, tight ends, people went crazy for, and yet they still didn't draft Dan Villari, who ends up with the Rams, and I'm really happy for my guy. But with all the tight ends taken, you don't take Villari. I thought that was stupid. But with all these tight ends taken, you take Kenyon Sadiq like he's Brock Bowers. And I don't necessarily agree with that. And I don't think the Jets needed that. Again, I don't think Ty Simpson was a necessity for the Rams at 13. And I don't think taking a tight end was a necessity for the Jets at 16. So I disagree with that pick. The Omar Cooper Jr. pick made it look like a steal because they took Sadiq 14 picks before, and then they ended up getting a receiver in Omar Cooper Jr., who may be able to slot in there right away for you. D'Angelo Pons in the middle of the second round, I love. I love it because D'Angelo Pons is a guy who has shown, if you bet on me, I'm going to make it happen. And Kurt Signetti bet on D'Angelo. D'Angelo bet on himself. They won a title. I like D'Angelo Pons. I think this might be one of the Jets fans' favorite guys on defense this year. I think his energy, I think his just the way he is about himself, the swagger, all of that. I think D'Angelo Pons gives you what you kind of feel like you're missing with Sauce Gardner to an effect, because he is going to bring you talent and he is going to bring you entertainment. So I think D'Angelo stepping into the Jets makes sense. Darrell Jackson Jr. getting a D tackle out of Florida State. Florida State hasn't been good in recent history, but, let's hope that fourth round pick can pan out and give him some depth there. I'm going to skip Cade Klubnik because I'm going to come back to it in a second. Inez Cooper, offensive guard. Hey, listen, well, you need depth. You get a guy from Miami who just played for a title. I like it. VJ Payne at safety out of Kansas State. We'll see what this looks like for the Jets. When we look at the Jets' overall depth chart and we go into this season, they let a lot of things go, right? They were just kind of unloading so they could have draft picks in 26, 27, and 28. So they're building toward the future and maybe hoping for an Arch Manning and hoping first and foremost that Arch Manning has a good season. He didn't have a great season.
Put me back up on the screen real quick.
Hoping that he has a good season. Go ahead.
Put me back up on the screen real quick.
Yeah.
Please, Lord, please give us Arch Manning next year. If we get Arch Manning, all of the Jets' problems will hopefully be solved in the long term. Not right away.
Yeah.
But we won't be the poverty franchise that we currently are.
Or
Sorry, back to our regularly scheduled
assessment.
back to our regularly scheduled assessment.
The funny thing is, though, what if they do like a Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence thing where the Jets decide to win their last game of the season and then give the number 1 pick to somebody else? So
And then we get Dante Moore again.
then you could pull in Dante
He didn't
Moore.
want to come here the first time. Who said he's
Right.
going to want to come here the second time?
But, I mean, you look at the picks and you say, bring the Jets back up again. We look at the picks. We look at what the Jets have, right? They got Geno Smith, Brady Cook, and Bailey Zappi at quarterback. So bringing in Cade Klubnik, in my opinion, is like your best bet right off the bat, right off the jump. And then you got Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. So you got a good backfield. You got Garrett Wilson, but after Garrett Wilson, you got a bunch of non-household names, and then you're hoping that Adonai Mitchell can do something he never did in Indianapolis, which is be consistent. And then you have Jelani Woods and Mason Taylor, who are 2 young guys at tight end. So why you bring in another tight end makes absolutely no sense to me. You have your offensive line, and you have some depth there. So there's something to be said about that. And then you look at your defensive line, and you have Will McDonald IV, and you have Tavondre Sweat and Harrison Phillips and all the drama that he's brought. But you wonder what this is going to look like. Kingsley Jonathan from Syracuse played a lot of time with the Bills and played some time with the Bears. He's now a Jet. So we'll see what can happen with that. He ended the season last season with the Jets. And then you look at linebackers and what they've done there, and you wonder, okay, what about that depth? And then at safety, you have Andre Sisco, you have Minka Fitzpatrick as well. So I do like the safety work, but I think there's a lot of other things the Jets could have assessed in this draft than to go to certain places they went to, like tight end. Let's talk about Cade Klubnik. I like Cade Klubnik. Why do I like Cade Klubnik? Because Cade Klubnik has been a starter for multiple years. Cade Klubnik plays in a better conference, or in a better conference than people give him credit for in the ACC. And Cade was tested, right? Cade had some growing pains. Cade went through a lot. Now, Cade Klubnik, when we look at what he's done, now, unlike a Ty Simpson, this guy's played 10 or more games every one of his 4 years in college, and they've all been at Clemson. So Cade in 2022, 10 games, 61 completions out of 100 attempts, 61% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. In 2023, 290 completions, 454 attempts, 63.9% completion percentage. In his second season, 2,844 yards, 19 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. 2024, 308 completions, 486 attempts, 63.4% completion percentage, 3,639 yards, 36 touchdowns to 6 interceptions was his best year. And last year, 12 games, and that was in 14 games. 12 games, 257 completions, 392 attempts, 65.6% completion percentage, his highest completion percentage in college, 2,943 yards, 16 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Never had a season of double-digit interceptions. And you look at the amount of touchdowns he had in his last 2 seasons, he had 52 touchdowns passing to 12 interceptions. He threw for 10,123 yards in college. His completion percentage overall was 64%. He played in just shy of 50 games and completed over 900 passes in college. So when I look, and his yards per game, over 200. So when I look at Cade Klubnik, he's going to be a starter for the Jets this year. Unless they make a move to get somebody else, he's going to be a starter for the Jets this year. It's going to
Eventually.
happen. It's going to happen. And when Cade Klubnik steps out there, I think, arguably, he's going to be the best guy the Jets fans have seen in a long time. Now, this is a guy who's flying under the radar.
That's not saying very much there, bud.
I know, but listen, it's going to be trending upward. Jets are supposed to take off. All the Jets have been doing lately is landing. They're not taking off. They're sitting on the runway. So you need a guy who can make your team take off a little bit. Now, Cade Klubnik to Clemson fans had been underwhelming, and Clemson didn't play that well, and Clemson's not playing for a college football playoff title, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But keep in mind, 2 seasons ago, when everybody said, oh, in the 12-team playoff in its first year, all the road teams sucked. Who the hell didn't watch the Clemson-Texas game? Clemson made that a game in the fourth quarter. Who is their quarterback? Cade Klubnik, having his best season of his entire college career. People don't pay attention to that Clemson-Texas game. I don't know who wasn't watching it, but Clemson was on the road. Clemson was considered the last team in, and Clemson's out here working their tail off in the fourth quarter against Texas with Cade Klubnik. Cade Klubnik on the Jets was a steal in the fourth round. He arguably, next to Fernando Mendoza, was the best quarterback taken in this draft. So I'm excited for the Jets.
I hope you're right.
In that respect. I'm really excited for the Jets. I thought they made a wonderful move, a wonderful steal, and we're going to talk about my Jaguars and what they did wrong after this fast break, because like the Jets, they took a tight end. But they took two when they have gotten rid of all the ones that they brought in. Chris Manhertz isn't on the team anymore. Luke Farrell, they drafted, isn't on the team anymore. Jacksonville not only takes tight ends, they let them go within 2 to 3 seasons. So we can talk about the fact that they gave me a headache, and they didn't even draft in the first round. That'll be right after this inside of the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. Stay with us.
Avicoli's Restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on in to the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry-loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. K9 Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to k9campground.com as well. That's the number 9, KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. K9 Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose K9 Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to a Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Kaz location and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, you know, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. You know, everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, which is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Head over to GG Cards and Breaks Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6 and on Sundays from 10 to 5 to connect with a place that helps you to feel like a big kid all the time. Your kid's spirit can run wild at GG Cards and Breaks with singles, packs, boxes, graded cards, so many great things. Topps now has the rights to the NFL, and they just released Topps 2025 Chrome Football. Opened a bunch of that yesterday. Do not miss out on your opportunity to get it while supplies last, as well as Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, One Piece, soccer, hockey, basketball, baseball, football, and the list goes on. GG Cards and Breaks is constantly bringing in new product, and they cannot wait to see you Tuesday through Saturday, 10 to 6, Sundays 10 to 5 on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York. Big time shout out to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. You can't miss Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. Giant brick building right on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. And they have their own light that was created because of the amount of traffic coming through there. Giant parking lot, giant dining room, and double drive-through waiting for you with everything that Chick-fil-A has to offer, including all of their new frosted twists to their beverages, as well as the things you love, like the original, the grilled, and the spicy chicken sandwiches, their mac and cheese, and, of course, those shakes that you can't get enough of. Head over to Chick-fil-A in DeWitt today on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Let them know that DT sent you, and say hi to Megan Sorber and her incredible team at Chick-fil-A in DeWitt. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, it's time for us to jump really quick back into our conversation on the draft, but to go from the Jets to the Jaguars. And I'll give my thoughts on the Jacksonville Jaguars as they made their picks because of the trade last year to go from 5 to 2 to get Travis Hunter, the two-way player that I think is a better corner for the team right now than, I should say, better to be at corner than to be at wide receiver. He might want to play two ways, and that's all well and good. But the Jacksonville Jaguars have enough in their wide receiver core, and they do not have enough at corner. So if he's a two-way player, you got to play him where you think he is going to be best for your team. And I think Travis Hunter should be a full-time corner right now until they can figure out the defensive side of the ball. You can plug and play him in certain positions, certain moments, but I think when you have Brian Thomas Jr. and you have Jacoby Myers and you have Parker Washington, but you don't have the depth at corner, you need to put Travis Hunter over there. So they didn't draft until the second round because of the Travis Hunter trade last year when I was in Italy, in Rome, paying attention to the draft at 2 o'clock in the morning Italy time. So they drafted in the second round. They got Nate Borchkircher of Texas A&M at tight end. I don't agree with it. I don't understand it. Recent history, they drafted Luke Farrell. He's not on the team right now. They brought in Chris Manhertz. He's not on the team right now. They've had other guys not on the team right now. They had Evan Engram, 1,000-yard threat every year, and a guy that Trevor Lawrence loved to throw to, especially in crunch time, not on the team right now. So they have Brenton Strange, who's been serviceable, and they drafted recently. I don't know why they would draft not one, but two tight ends, because in the fifth round, they got Tanner Koziol out of Houston. No offense to Tanner or Nate. It's just not the pick that Jacksonville needed. They go and get Albert Regis, D-tackle out of Texas A&M, and they need help to their offensive defensive line like you wouldn't believe, especially when it comes to the interior of the D-line, so I like that they got that pick. Emmanuel Pregnon, offensive guard out of Oregon, I like that pick. I just don't understand why they didn't take a second-round pick to get an offensive lineman or defensive lineman. Jalen Husky out of Maryland at corner. Let's hope in the third round that'll be a steal because, like I said, they need depth at defensive back. Wesley Williams, I covered at Duke, edge rusher in the fourth round. I'm hoping that he, like other players from Duke, is going to be a steal that maybe some people overlooked. Josh Cameron and C.J. Williams, they get two wide receivers with their sixth-round picks. 10th pick of the 6th round, 22nd pick of the 6th round out of Baylor and Stanford. I'm okay with them getting depth here at wide receiver. Zach Durfee, Washington edge rusher in the 7th round, and Parker Hughes, linebacker out of Middle Tennessee. They waited the entire draft to get the pick that I think that they needed first. Going into this draft, yes, I think they needed help on offensive and defensive line. But because you have edge rushers that can play with their hands down in the dirt or play up, either as outside linebackers or defensive ends, because Josh Hines-Allen is marked down as a D end, because Trayvon Walker's marked down as a D end. You have Foye Oluokun at linebacker and nobody else that was a consistent starter. So why the Jaguars don't draft a linebacker in the second round is beyond my brain. And why they didn't draft a linebacker in the third round, the fourth round, the fifth round, the sixth round is beyond my brain. They got a linebacker with their last pick in the 2026 NFL draft. The one position I thought they needed more than anything else, they waited until their last pick to draft. And it's not like they didn't have a lot of picks. Despite not being in the first round, they had 10 picks in this draft. Almost double Green Bay. And they waited until their last pick to grab a linebacker. Apparently they know something I don't know. Apparently they're going to make trades for guys. Apparently there's guys in free agency they're going to make moves for. Because what they did in this draft makes no sense to me. You need a linebacker, you need interior D linemen, you need offensive line help, you draft a tight end. Then you draft another tight end. And then you give Foye Oluokun help with your last pick. So I don't have a good grade for Jacksonville. Right now, I'll give them a C. C+. Would love to get your thoughts, Murph.
I'm surprised you're giving them a grade that high.
Yeah.
I mean, you're right. They waited and waited and waited to finally take their linebacker, and he's a 7th round pick. 7th round linebacker or 7th round picks rarely work out. Obviously, we can name some. But the amount of 7th round
Syracuse linebacker, let's go, baby.
I know. Like, obviously, we can name some that work out.
Yeah.
But probably 90, 98, 99 times out of 100, it doesn't work out. You'll find your Brock Purdy's and your whoever else that gets picked in round 7 that ends up being a stud. But, you know, it doesn't happen often. So that pick, to me, you almost look at it and you're just like, yeah, that makes no sense. The tight end pick makes no sense. Defensive tackle, the one they got out of A&M, I think, is helpful. Obviously, they spent 3 first-round picks on one on each of the offensive and defensive lines and then a defensive back. Yeah. They got an edge rusher in the 4th round. They picked up a couple of receivers, but again, like, they didn't draft anybody that jumps out at me like this guy is a stud and he shouldn't have fallen as far as he did. So I mean, obviously they put all their eggs in one basket. They traded last year's number 1 to go up and get Travis Hunter last year, or this year's number 1 to go up and get Travis Hunter last year. Yeah. So in theory, their first round pick was Travis Hunter. They just drafted the other half of Travis Hunter this year. If that makes any sense. But yeah, I don't get it. It seems like there's no vision right now for this team. I guess maybe they wanted to get Trevor Lawrence, another pass catcher. I don't know. I mean, both of our teams took tight ends high in the draft when we didn't think they needed them, and
yeah,
could it work out? Maybe. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, again, you got Trevor Lawrence, you got Bajal Tootin and the Quentin Allen Jr., 2 steals. You got Chris Rodriguez Jr. that you brought in. We'll see what he does. Brian Thomas Jr., Jacoby Myers, Parker Washington, all good at wide receiver. Brenton Strange now has 2 more guys that'll probably be on another team within the next 3 years or 4 years.
Yep.
And probably Brenton Strange too. But he's there for now. And because Jacksonville's obsessed with tight ends, but when they find a good one, they don't keep it. Hopefully they keep Brenton Strange. Left tackle Cole Van Lannon was a 3rd-string guy. Walker Little's been a tackle and a guard since they drafted him out of Stanford. Ezra Cleveland was brought in but hasn't been consistent. Robert Hainsey was brought in recently at center, but he hasn't been there for a long time. Patrick McCarry, Wyatt Millum, Sal Wormley, none of these household names at right guard. Anton Harrison they drafted at right tackle, and he played right away. But again, the offensive line that has not been consistent in a decade, no matter how much money they spend, no matter who they draft, no matter what they do, they extended Cam Robinson, franchise tagged Cam Robinson, and let him go. They spent a ton of money on multiple guys that are not on the team anymore. They went and drafted Luke Fortner when they already had a center, and he's not on the team anymore, and he's a starter somewhere else now in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars have had utter, outrageous, insane, illogical, irrational moves with the offensive line. Trevor Lawrence has been blamed for a lot. But you cannot hold him accountable for the fact that this offensive line does not stay healthy, does not stay consistent. And the Jacksonville Jaguars went into this draft and did a whole lot of almost nothing, assessing the offensive line once again. In free agency, almost nothing, assessing the offensive line once again. They keep putting Trevor Lawrence out there, expecting him to pull off heroics when you do not have an offensive line that has depth, that is consistent, that has played together for a while. Every single year, this offensive line changes somewhere, sometimes in a lot of places. And these guys have not panned out. You are getting the scraps of other NFL teams trying to make a starting offensive line, and it's not working out. Then you have 3 years to extend or not extend Travis Etienne Jr., Travis Achane Jr., because he said that his Etienne name is Achane, just like Devin Achane, which means his younger brother Trevor Etienne is also an Achane, which would probably piss me off if I was Devon Achane, knowing there's 3 Achanes, but there used to be one in the NFL. So when you look at Travis, you got 3 years to trade him or extend him. You let him go to the Saints for nothing. No picks, no money, no players, you stupid. They let Evan Engram go for nothing. You stupid. They let Christian Kirk go for a 7th-round pick. You stupid. You let starting guys go for nothing. Andre Sisco went for nothing. And he's the best arguable guy right now in the defensive back world for the Jets. You stupid. They have made pick after pick of not assessing needs. This is a team I love, a team I've cheered for, a team that right over my shoulder I have an entire shrine to. You stupid. Besides Trevor Lawrence and Trayvon Walker and Josh Hines-Allen, you're stupid when it comes to the NFL draft. And Brian Thomas Jr. Okay? Travis Hunter, we'll see. He's got to stay healthy, and he's got to pick a place. And right now, Travis, if you want to play offense, it's all well and good, but you have to play cornerback because they got none. They got none. We need Travis Hunter to play 5 spots in the defensive back unit, not 2 spots offense-defense. We need Travis Hunter to multiply himself right now. So, Jacksonville, you made a flashy pick with Travis Hunter. Let's see if it works out. But your offensive line, you don't assess. You let guys go for nothing. How Travis Achane Jr. goes for nothing is beyond me. How Evan Engram goes for nothing is beyond me. How Christian Kirk goes for almost nothing is beyond me. You're not just bringing guys in. You're not even understanding. Travis Achane is a starting running back who can play wide receiver in a way. He's an every down back for you, and he's a guy that helps you win a bunch of games. Why you let that guy go for nothing when you had 3 years to figure it out is beyond me. It doesn't matter who's in the front office because they've had multiple general managers and they all make the same stupid decisions. So they might as well have just had the same general manager for the last 10 years because they've continued to make dumb decisions outside of a few. Foye Oluokun was a good decision in free agency. Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, Trevor Lawrence, good for the draft. LaQuint Allen, good to bring in as an undrafted free agent. Bajal Tootin, a good guy to bring in the draft. Parker Washington, thank goodness they held on to a guy like that. Jacoby Myers, a good guy to bring in a trade last year. Brian Thomas Jr., a good move. But outside of that, there's nobody on the offensive line that I'm saying, yeah, that was a great move. There's nobody in the linebacker core besides Foye Oluokun that I'm saying that was a great move. And Montaric Brown that they brought him in at the end of a draft, and that might have been one of the best moves they made besides Travis Hunter at corner. Jerry Jones, we'll see if he pans out. Antonio Johnson, we'll see if he pans out. But I'm sitting here looking at Jacksonville saying, the best move that you made in the draft in the last couple years was Cam Little, your kicker, who's the best in the NFL, arguably, when it comes to length of kick. But I'm sitting here with Jacksonville this morning saying to myself, why should any fan believe that you're trying to win a championship when you don't assess your needs and you let guys go for nothing? The best trade bait they have, they waste it. They made a great move with Jalen Ramsey. I said I want 2 first-rounders. They got him. They made a great move with Yannick Ngakoue. They got a second-rounder and other things. But the fact that you let starting guys go for nothing, possession receiver go for nothing, an every down back for nothing, and you don't assess the biggest need that you have, which is linebacker and offensive line. I said this before and I'll say it again. Hire me to be the general manager for the Jacksonville Jaguars. I bet you I make better decisions in 1 year that have been made in 5. Those are my thoughts.
Tell them how you really feel.
I'm sick of it, Murph. I am sick.
I can't
I am
even
sick of
tell
the
you guys
stupidity.
the last time we had a Dan rant when I was on the show. This is awesome. Because it's usually my rants. It is. You know, I'll rant about the Mets. I'll rant about the Jets. I'll rant about whatever. And, you know, obviously I've ranted about the Mets before and they should fire Carlos Mendoza today, but that's besides the point. You earned that. You earned every word, every bit of that. So, you know, glad you got that off your chest because I feel it. We've been there. Jets have been there. My teams have all been there before. And you need to get it off your chest, and I'm glad you did.
Because it's stupid. It is outrageously stupid. I mean, watching Travis Etienne go the last 3 years with there's no trade, there's no extension. I'm going, are they really going to let this guy go for $0, for 0 picks, for 0 opportunity? You could have traded into the first round with a team because you gave up Travis Etienne. You could have done something with Christian Kirk. You could have done something with Evan Engram. Like, you have lost your mind. Evan Engram isn't, every year he could get 900 to 1,000 yards. He was the guy that Trevor Lawrence went to at the end of the game if they needed to win that game. If they were trying to win the game and they were possession trying to get down the field, he went to Evan Engram. When it was crunch time, he went to Evan. He didn't just go to Evan Engram in a game. He went to Evan Engram when they needed someone to trust to catch the ball. And you let him go for nothing. You let A.J. Boye go for nothing. You let Calais Campbell go for nothing. Calais Campbell has continued to extend his career. What did they think? He was going to retire? He's continued to be good. I mean, Jacksonville is notorious for getting talent and then letting it go for nothing. They're obsessed with 5th and 6th round picks, which is beyond me. They let starters go for 5th rounders, 6th rounders. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. And you let Gardner Minshew go when he's a good backup for you. I would have rather had him if Trevor was going to go out than other guys that they had. So I say, and they didn't even know how to utilize Mac Jones. Mac Jones goes to San Francisco and he looks like a dynasty player. He's in Jacksonville and he looks like nothing. I mean, it says something about a team when you can change a jersey and you look like a totally different player. And it's happened multiple times in the NFL, and I've tracked it. But I can't fathom the Jaguars needing like 4 linebackers, and they draft 1 in the 7th round. I can't fathom the fact that they have 2nd and 3rd string guys starting because they have no depth at offensive line, and they draft almost no offensive linemen. Like, if you go back and you cut and you copy and paste what I've talked about Jacksonville in the last decade, it's been offensive line every year. What the hell are they doing? What in the hell are they doing? What in the heck are they doing? Pardon me, God. What are they doing? What are they doing? And you look at the interior D-line, what are you doing? And you bring guys, you let guys go and you bring guys back and you let them go again. It is beyond me. And I don't know who's scouting for the Jaguars, but you're bringing guys in, whether they're talented or not, that are drama queens. Marcel Darius couldn't do an interview until he opened up his shirt to show his chest, put glasses on indoors, and put his chain on. Yannick Ngakoue couldn't do an interview with me until he put on his watch and let me know that it was $10,000. Who are you bringing into your locker room? And I was in that locker room for over a decade. And I haven't been in that locker room in the last 2 years, and I've said things on the show, and I've been right. And I'm not even sitting there. I've earned the right to be in that locker room more than anybody else in the media or right up with people in the media. You tell me how I know the Jaguars better than people know them that are there. Better than their friggin' front office knows them. I have made predictions about Jacksonville that have been echoed by their head coach 4 weeks after I said it. I shouldn't even be in that building as much as I should be in that front office. I know that team like the back of my friggin' hand. So it's disrespectful to not have me there, and it's stupid to have the people that you have there that can't seem to make a decision that looks like they have any type of intelligence. You know when they say, what was I born yesterday? Apparently some of the people in the front office were. Because only a baby would make a goo-goo gaga decision that I'm looking at saying, what? You let a starting running back go for free? You had him for 5 years, and you let him go for free. And now the Saints are going to use him, and Tyler Shuck cannot wait to have Travis Etienne in the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
When you make dumb decisions compounded over time, I look at your ownership. Because you've had different GMs, different head coaches, different assistant coaches, and different people at different positions, but you're making the same stupid decision. Stupidity has now become the environment. It didn't leave when you fired this guy or that guy. It's still there. It's still there. You needed an offensive line 12 years ago. You needed a linebacker all off season. You assessed them by doing almost nothing. You thought that your best chance to get a linebacker was in the 7th round. It is beyond me. See, when I look at the Jaguars and I look at the decisions they made, if they don't end up in the playoffs this year, copy and paste this moment. I hope they do. But they're not
Flip it, folks.
They're not going to beat anybody if their offensive line can't stay healthy. And this offensive line never stays healthy and it never stays consistent. And I'm looking at the names that are there this year, and it's the same old song and dance. It is the same old song and dance. And how many guys have I been in the locker room with? The Luke Fortners, the Tyler Shatleys, the Cam Robinsons, and so on and so on. There's all these guys that have been there. Then I'm sitting here going, why did you let him go? Or why did you spend that much money? Or why did you keep doing that? You let Juwan Taylor go, who didn't pan out for you. He goes to Kansas City and he's fighting for a title every year. Like, Jacksonville, wake up. Or switch the football team to a soccer team. I don't know what to tell you anymore. But I'm really, my patience is low because you knew what you needed and you did the opposite. And you have 7 receivers and now you have 9. And then you brought in more in undrafted free agents. So you're going to have 11 receivers, 6 offensive linemen. Sounds great. Same thing you did with Doug Marrone. Same thing you did with Gus Bradley. Same thing you did with Doug Peterson. Same thing you're doing now. The definition of insanity has a Jaguar logo next to it. Figure it the frick out. Figure it out. Stupidity. Okay? And how do I know this team 1,000 miles away better than the people in the building? That makes no sense to me. I guess I do my research and they don't. Maybe they should call me. Maybe I should be a liaison. I don't know at this point. But Jacksonville, and to the people in the front office that don't think I talk about the team enough, I talk about the team all season long. But if you're listening to what I'm talking about right now, you probably don't like it because I'm right. Prove me wrong, and I'll shut up. Prove me wrong, and I'll stop. But I love this franchise, and you're driving it into the dirt. There's more holes being dug in Jacksonville beyond the construction of the stadium. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's. I don't know what they're doing. Maybe because they're not going to be playing in their home stadium for the next couple of years, but I don't know. I think they're. I hope for your sake it's not becoming this, but I am worried that they're becoming the Jets. And the Jets are working, and the Jets are going to be coming out of it next year once they draft their.
And when
once
I
they
covered
finally
the Jets,
draft their
they were
quarterback.
filled with a bad. The Jets, in my time around them, I saw them have a bad ego and terrible decisions, and I see a bad ego and terrible decisions in Jacksonville, and I don't like it. But again, it all comes down to how you treat people, and the Jaguars have made moves, and they have treated people extremely poorly. And You do not do business by crapping on the people that care, because not everybody cares. So if you knock out the 3 people that care, you got 81 that don't. And listen, I've been around Jacksonville long enough to know that the perennial people in the media that they let cover that team crap on that team every second that they get. There are people that came to games and could not say one good thing to save their life. Even the nicest thing was a backhanded compliment. So having me in the building, I'm a positive person hoping for the best. The other people in the building, they cover the team and don't care if you fail. If those are the people you want covering your team, good luck to you. If you want a half-empty press box, good luck to you. But Jacksonville should not be turning away positivity, and they've spent the last 3 years doing that. And I don't have any respect for organizations of any kind, big or small, that crap on good people and crap on people that care and crap on people that show the work and do the work and are consistent with the work. I will never stand for an organization that disrespects good people. So Jacksonville's got a lot of problems on and off the field, and I hope to God, I hope to the Lord himself that evil does not prosper, because there's a lot of things happening in Jacksonville that I never thought would happen. So I hope the best for them moving forward, whoever they deal with, because the way that they're doing business right now, it's not the way that they used to do it, and it's not the way to do it. With that being said, Murph, I thank you as always.
Of course, my friend. Also, quick shout out to Nelly Corda for winning the Chevron Championship this weekend. Another major for her and for Team TaylorMade. So just wanted to give her a little quick shout out. But who knows? Maybe the Mets shake things up this week and fire their manager. But we saw the Red Sox do that the other day. They fired basically the whole coaching staff. So I guess we'll wait and see on that one. But pleasure as always, my friend. Let's do it again next week.
Yeah, sounds good. That coming from Murph. Take care, be safe, and have a good week.
Yes, sir.
So Murph coming to us here where sports meets life on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We thank you for hanging out with us where sports truly meets that thing called life. And I want to thank you for being with us up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. Many thanks to everybody on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. Search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, to find us there. And, of course, many thanks to our wonderful partners in Central and Upstate New York. Make sure to support Great Lakes Honda City with the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Mon, Paz, Snack Capital of the World, Brian's Landing, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Pizza Man, Myers Creek, Chick-fil-A, Cicero, Game Point Sports Complex, Gray's Craze of Clay, New York, Avicoli's, Chick-fil-A in DeWitt, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Mother's Cupboard, Willow Rock Brewing Company, and the Willow Rock Pizza Pub. And, of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Binghamton University Bearcats. Find the Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, with student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining the show. You can find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. The Bearcats are also on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. I hope you have a beautiful day. Stay safe, and of course, Jacksonville, I love you dearly. I just don't agree with every decision that was made, and I can never stand for people bullying people or disrespecting people, especially when they do it to kind-hearted people who are doing things with good intentions. So that's all I'm hoping for, is that they go forward not burning bridges, because it's never a good thing to do. So that's what I hope for. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. From the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, thanks to Murph. As always on a Monday, thank you for all listening to and watching our NFL draft coverage. Have a great day from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. God bless, no stress, do your best.